Hi all, welcome to Fox 10 News Now. I'm Kinsey Schofield. This is the 6:30 edition of the show, and we have got so much stuff for you tonight. It was one of those days where the satellite was going crazy, and we have tons of content to bring you. As I'm sure you know, the Heritage Action for America Presidential Forum was today. You saw some highlights with Sonia, and I've got some additional. Bye, Mark. Enjoy your lunch. And I've got some of the GOP presidential candidates that spoke at that event, as well as we'll have some local and national stories for you as well. I'm waiting for those to load right now. But let's jump into the Heritage Action for America Presidential Forum. Right now, we'll look at, I'm getting a lot of good local stories. Let's not go low energy. If I started it with Jeb Bush, that would be low energy. Let's go with some high energy. It's not Ted Cruz. Bye, Jess. Thank you. There's a lot of activity happening right now. A lot of activity. Well, let's do Ben Carson to Ted Cruz, because that's a nice little transition. Although, why is he starting like that? It looks like he's starting in the middle of a speech. Okay, we'll do Ben Carson to Ted Cruz.
How a President Ben Carson would provide opportunity for all and favoritism to none.
Hello everyone at Heritage Action for America. I'm Ben Carson. You know, America is a place that was designed for the people. It was supposed to be of, for, and by the people. The government's role was to facilitate life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness for the people, not for themselves. This is what I think has been forgotten. And one of the reasons that I've gotten into this fray is to see if it's possible, because I actually believe it is, to return America to the people at the pinnacle, the government there to serve the people. We need to have a government where everybody has equal opportunity. We don't give anybody special favors. Our Constitution guarantees the rights of every American citizen, but it does not guarantee extra rights or special rights for anyone. And when we can grasp that concept and not always be looking for the special treatment, I think we will go a long way toward reestablishing the kind of atmosphere that will allow America to grow once again and to thrive and to create a tide that lifts all the boats. And that is perhaps one of the things that has created the most friction and has allowed the purveyors of division and hatred to be so successful, creating a war on women and racial wars and income wars and religious wars and age wars. And basically, you name it, they have a war on it. That's much more difficult to do when people feel that they are being treated fairly and equally. And that's where we need to concentrate. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the stage, Dr. Ben Carson.
Thank you for being here. Good to see you. Thank you for being here. Dr. Carson, welcome. And your first question comes from Debbie.
Dr. Carson, you've had a long and esteemed career as a pediatric neurologist. As such, you've operated on babies in the womb. What has been your reaction to the Planned Parenthood videos? And what actions would you take as president to protect life?
Okay. Well, first of all, thank you for inviting me here on my birthday. And what a great birthday present. Well, thank you. Thank you. You know, thank you. I guess the best birthday present is I heard Donald Trump had dropped out. Oh, wait a minute, that was just for today. Nah, just kidding. Actually, I think it's very important that we have all the different personalities and voices because they bring different people into the fray. People who used to sit on their hands, and we need everybody involved as long as they realize when the process is over, they need to get behind whoever the nominee is. That is a very important factor. Now, as far as Planned Parenthood is concerned, you know, my entire professional career dealt with trying to save children and provide for them quality of life. That's actually the reason that I'm in this now. And when I look at the things that they have done, and I look at their founder, Margaret Sanger, who was a eugenicist, who didn't like people who looked like me, obviously I'm not that interested in anything that she founded. You know, I want to see, you know? So, but the worst part is that the majority of Americans disagree with the tearing up of babies and the destroying of human life that this organization is engaged in. So why should their taxpayer money be used to fund that kind of activity? What happened to America? And you know, we have a president who says, if funding for that is not in there, I'm going to veto it. Well, I personally believe that Congress needs to call his bluff on that, you know? And, you know, Congress has tools also. They can defund everything. They can defund his breakfast. So, you know,
Dr. Carson, last year the California Health Department ordered all state private health care insurers to cover elective abortions, even religious institutions. A bakery in Oregon was fined hundreds of thousands of dollars for refusing to cater a gay wedding. Do you think America needs greater religious liberty protections that are currently in place?
Well, we have a Constitution, and it has a First Amendment, which protects religious rights. What was not anticipated was a judicial system that considered itself supreme to everybody else. That was the problem. And if you read the Constitution carefully, it makes it very clear that civil matters should be handled at the local or the state level. The reason for that, there was a very good reason for that, it's because the legislators and the judiciary at the state level have to respond to the people. They can be elected and they can be put out of office, but once you kick those things up to another level, then we begin to have a problem. We end up with an oligarchy, and this was never the intention. And the reason that we have a balance of powers and separation of powers is so that when one branch of the government gets out of control, the other branches are supposed to bring it back into control. And we need to start looking at some other ways to make sure that we don't continue down this pathway. And I guarantee the Congress that they do have the ability to take any kind of legislation, no matter where it came from, and to alter it in order to make sure that it's consistent with our Constitution, and that's what they should be doing.
Dr. Carson, in 2013, as the Senate was debating whether to grant illegal immigrants amnesty, you said, quote, "Of course allow illegal immigrants to have a pathway to citizenship." Last year, you suggested that those here illegally would need to leave the country in order to become guest workers. And this year, you seem to have suggested that guest worker status should be allowed for those in the country without having to leave first. What is your position on those in the country illegally, and how would you explain it to those Americans who are concerned about granting amnesty?
Okay, thank you. You know, one of the things that I've been doing is going around the country, spending a great deal of time listening. And I go to all sections of the country, every demographic, because the country is supposed to be of, for, and by the people. It's not supposed to be of and for any particular political figure or figure that's non-political like me. So I have come to the understanding, particularly after visiting the border, that we can absolutely seal our borders. There's no question about it. And all we have to do is look at what's been done successfully before. You look at what was done in Yuma County in Arizona by using a combination of the right kind of barrier and putting people there to monitor it and having a judicial system that prosecuted first-time offenders instead of a catch-and-release program. It was extremely effective, and we can use that along not only the southern border, but we can use a variety of things to seal all of our borders, because it's not just people from Mexico and Honduras we're worried about. It's Islamic radical jihadists who want to destroy us. And we have to make sure that that's not the case. And in addition to that, if we cut off the goodies, there won't be any reason for people to try to get in here. Okay? Now, additionally, there's still going to be a group of people who are left here. And what do we do with them? I don't think it is possible to round them all up. Just the judicial system itself would be clogged up for many, many years to come. However, in talking to many farmers, they have told me that they cannot get anybody to harvest the crops and to take care of the crops. And I don't see any reason at all that we cannot have a guest worker program to get that kind of work done. Any kind of work that Americans don't want to do, we ought to have another mechanism for getting it done. But in order to be a guest worker, you have to have a pristine record. You have to sign up within a certain period of time. You have to pay a back tax penalty. You have to pay your taxes going forward. You don't get to vote, and you are not a citizen. So, additionally, I believe that we ought to be doing some of the things that allow companies to make a profit in other countries by developing them in terms of their agricultural facilities, et cetera, so that they can stay in their own country and be perfectly happy in doing so.
Can you give us a little bit more detail about the guest worker program? Would it be temporary? Would it be permanent? Would they be eligible for federal benefits?
Too much echo there.
Would a guest worker under your program, would that be a temporary program? Is it a permanent program? And would those guest workers be eligible for federal benefits while they're in the country?
I think those guest workers are not eligible for anything unless we, the American people, decide that we want to make them eligible for it. I think that's the way that it should work. And those are things that we can determine by questioning the people themselves. So, and that's the key point that I want to bring across, is that this country, America, is the greatest country the world has ever known. It is such an exceptional nation. And you know, before America came on the scene, for thousands of years, people did things the same way. Once we were on the scene, within 200 years, men were walking on the moon. And when people say we're not exceptional, They are not thinking. We are by far the most exceptional nation, and our job is to make sure that we remain an exceptional nation. And
Dr. Carson, our nation's debt picture is concerning. You yourself have noted that by some estimates, the federal government's debts accrue to $200 trillion. Yet you've also downplayed the need to address our entitlement programs, suggesting, quote, we shouldn't even talk about entitlement programs until we fix the economy. Many people feel our nation is on the verge of our own debt crisis. Dr. Carson, can we afford to delay entitlement reform before we face a catastrophic debt crisis of our own?
Well, you know, one of the things that I learned as a surgeon is that when people have complex problems, you have to address them sequentially, and it has to be in the right sequence. Otherwise, you will not have a successful outcome. Now, we have a terribly broken system right now. You know, we're not growing anymore. This is the most powerful economic engine that the world has ever known. And yet, it cannot work because it has been wrapped up with chains of regulation. And they come out every month, more and more regulations. Every single regulation costs us in terms of goods and services. It costs everybody. But who does it hit disproportionately? It hits poor people disproportionately. And that's one of the things that's driving the income gap that the left is always talking about. They say you can solve that by taking all the money from the rich. No, you can solve it by stopping all these stupid regulations that are driving up the cost for everybody. And you have to recognize that, yes, we have this tremendous debt, and $18 trillion. To pay that back at $10 million a day, it would take you over 5,000 years. We're putting that on the backs of our young people, but that's not the worst part. The worst part is the fiscal gap, the unfunded liabilities that we owe. Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, governmental programs versus what we expect to bring in revenues from taxes and other revenue sources. If we're fiscally responsible, those things should be almost identical. But if they're not, there's a gap. Bring that forward to today's dollars, and you're talking a fiscal gap of over $200 trillion. The only reason we can sustain that is because we can print money, because we are the reserve currency of the world, a title that generally goes with the #1 economy in the world, which we were from the 1870s until last year when China became the #1 economy. Fortunately, they don't have the infrastructure to be able to become the reserve currency right now, but they are working on it. But here we are printing money irresponsibly. We decoupled it from the gold standard in 1971. It's just based on our good name, faith, and credit, which is not very good anymore. And if we no longer can print money and we continue down this pathway, we are headed for certain destruction. And what we must do is get our fiscal house in order, get the economy rolling again, fix the tax structure so that it can be roaring, providing excellent opportunities for people. And once we have excellent opportunities for people, that's when we reform the entitlements. That way, we have everybody on the same page and we're not persecuting people and making ourselves seem unfair.
Dr. Carson, do you anticipate in your first term proposing Medicare, Social Security reforms? Will you get the economy growing quickly enough that we can then move on to that next part of the sequence and reform entitlements in your first term?
There are a lot of people who say, you know, it took us years and years to get into this bad situation, and it's going to take us years and years to get out of it. I do not believe that. I believe that if we get in there and rapidly get rid of all of these horrible entitlements, and not horrible entitlements, but horrible regulations, we'll get rid of the entitlements too, but we have to do this in sequence. Get rid of the regulations, and we reform the tax system. We get rid of these horrible situations, and one of the ways that we can jumpstart the economy very quickly, there's trillions of dollars, at least $2 trillion overseas, that's not being brought back here. I can remember many an afternoon sitting around boardroom tables And a lot of people don't know, but I sat on the Kellogg board for 18 years, Costco board for 16 years. I was the chairman of the board of Vaccinogen, a biotech company. My wife and I built a national scholarship program that has won national awards. I have a lot of business experience. People think that doctors only know medicine. They're nuts, okay? But we would talk about all that money overseas and what we could do with it here, but we couldn't bring it back because the corporate tax rate was too high. Well, my suggestion, and what I would advocate if I got into office, is I would provide a 6-month hiatus of tax-free holiday so that that money could be repatriated into our shores at no cost to the American people. And my only requirement would be that 10% of it would be used to create jobs for people who are unemployed and on welfare. You want to talk about a gigantic jumpstart. That would be unbelievable. And there would be the biggest stimulus probably since the New Deal. And yet, it would be something that didn't cost our taxpayers 1 red cent. Those are the kinds of things that we have to be thinking about. That's low-hanging fruit, absolutely no reason not to do something like that. And then we have to fix the tax structure for everybody. I want something that hits everybody in a proportional way. And if that was good enough for God, that's good enough for me too. And it should be good enough for all of us.
Dr. Carson, it's an honor to invite Governor Haley back onto the stage.
Okay.
Thank you very much, and happy birthday, Dr. Carson.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that.
I will tell you, in case you didn't know, South Carolina was named the friendliest state in the country, but you could tell when they sang you happy birthday.
Absolutely.
So they never let me down. A lot of people have watched you and they hear what a conservative you are. But will you go back and tell so many of these people actually what your upbringing was? Because you weren't always a conservative.
No. I grew up in Detroit and in Boston. I mean, you want to talk about blue places. If there was another color beyond blue, they would be that. And I grew up in that, and then I went to Yale University. My goodness, talk about liberal. And then came back to the University of Michigan, and then went to Baltimore. So I was a radical Democrat, and I believed all of the stuff that they believed, including that Republicans were horrible, racist people. And then I started listening to Ronald Reagan. And he didn't sound that way. And I said, this man does not sound like that. And then at the same time, I was seeing all these patients coming in. And they were able-bodied people, but they were completely subsumed by the welfare system. And I said, this is not working in their favor. And it's one of the things that I'm trying to get a lot of the downtrodden in our society to recognize. There are ways that you can get out of a state of dependency. Not listen to those people who are always patting you on the head and saying, there, you poor little thing, I'm going to take care of all your needs. That's not being kind.
And I absolutely agree. In a time where we're trying to bring more people into our party, what are we not doing right, and what can we do more of?
Well, there is no question we need to listen.
That's right.
And one of the things that we do in this country is we've gotten into our respective corners and we fire hand grenades at each other. And it helps to facilitate what the left is trying to do. They're trying to divide us. They want us to think that there's a war on women and racial wars and income wars and age wars and religious wars, and they want us all to believe that we're each other's enemies when in fact they are the enemy. And that's what we need to understand. And we need to go out into the minority communities and show them that there is a ladder of opportunity that will bring them out of a state of dependency. And we want them to use the talents that God has given them, working hard. We want to invest in our fellow man because it is our job to take care of the downtrodden. It is not the job of the government. We can do it a lot better than they can.
So talking about different places and things, you practiced at Johns Hopkins, and so you know Baltimore. If you look at what happened in South Carolina and in Charleston, and you look at what happened there, what could have been or should have been done differently to cause a different reaction in Baltimore than what we saw?
Okay. Well, it was a story that was really missed by the media because they were looking for sensationalism, and they wanted to talk about the flag, and they wanted to talk about everything else. But in fact,
I'm so sorry. I'm not going to interrupt Ben Carson. I'll go back to him, but we do have some breaking news, and I am trying not to. Let's see. I have to show you this tweet from Doug Ducey. This is 3 minutes ago. Doug Ducey tweeted, "Breaking, we got him. DPS SWAT team is in custody of the individual suspected of I-10 shootings apprehended moments ago." This is huge, 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 huge news. If it's in fact true. That's Doug Ducey's official account tweeting that they have the suspected shooter in the I-10 shooting, who's had not only Phoenix but the entire country. Hey, Hook, did you see this? Doug Ducey saying they got the I-10 shooter. Yes! He just tweeted it 3 minutes ago. "Breaking, we got him. DPS SWAT team is in custody of the individual suspected of the I-10 shooting apprehended moments ago." This is Doug Ducey's Twitter feed. Let's go back to and see some of the other great work by Arizona DPS investigators and SWAT team. Investigation remains ongoing. Please be careful and stay alert. If you have any information about the I-10 shootings, call Arizona DPS at 602-644-5805. So very, very, very exciting, and very, very exciting. If very, very exciting if this is actually coming to fruition the way it looks to be coming to fruition. Now, I'm going to go back to Ben Carson because I know a lot of you love Ben Carson, but if this in fact is true, this is huge. Breaking news. They believe they have the I-10 shooting suspect in custody. Now, as I'm sure you can imagine, our entire news day is going to be turned around thanks to this. Good job, DPS, says Frankie. Amazing, says Rachel. Tomorrow's top story, says D. Oh my, great news, says Charlotte. Awesome news, agrees D. And whatever, Coleman doesn't really care. Obviously, Coleman wasn't. 8:15?
Yes.
Okay, at 8:15 we have a press conference. Okay.
So Corey's going to set up the Avenir.
Okay.
So Madison Avenue Jail? That's what I think she said, right? Madison Avenue Jail?
Or 4th Ave? No, that's where the presser is, but I don't know where this guy is going.
Yeah, we don't know the guy, but the
guy's going to go to central booking at DPS first, and then question him, and then he will go to 4th Ave.
Okay. So we might want to send Robert down to 4th Ave. If we get a break in the perp block, you're already there.
Perp walk. Oh wow.
Yeah, that's what. But the other thing too is this other guy. We may want to get sound from this other guy.
As he's being released.
So anyway, 8:15.
8:15. Thank you. Okay, thank you.
Supposed to be Mill still.
All right, so we have an 8:15 press conference coming from DPS. So we look forward to the 8:15 press conference. Again, breaking news, DPS SWAT team has the I-10 shooter suspect in custody, apprehended just moments ago. That was at 6:52 p.m. that was reported, so almost 10 minutes ago it was reported that moments ago the suspect in the I-10 shootings was apprehended. So this is huge news. I'm going to continue with Dr. Ben Carson. Know that we are going to have know that we're going to have that press conference at 8:15, but we have to completely redo our entire show now based on this information. This has been a very scary time for Phoenix residents. This has been a very scary time to drive on the I-10. I do it almost every single day, and no matter what time of day it is, I've been concerned for my safety and the safety of others. So this is a very exciting time for Arizona. Hopefully it's the right individual.
Sensationalism, and they wanted to talk about the flag, and they wanted to talk about everything else. But in fact, the people at that church demonstrated the Spirit of God. It's the thing that made America great. And that's what we need to emphasize more in our nation. The president likes to say that we're not a Judeo-Christian nation, but he doesn't get to decide what kind of nation we are. We get to decide what kind of nation we are. And I think if we apply those kind of principles in Baltimore, in Ferguson, wherever we are, reaching out to our fellow men with Christ-like attitude, I think we'll be in much better shape. And I got to tell you, I get a little bit tired of the secular progressives always trying to tell me that, you're not a good scientist, you're not a good doctor because you believe that God created the earth and stuff like this. Let me tell you, it's supposed to be live and let live. And we are, believing in God, think about this. It's on our money. It's in our founding document. Many courtrooms on the wall it says, "In God we trust." It's in every part of our fabric. If we can't talk about it, what is that? In medicine, we call that schizophrenia. And we can do much better than that.
We're going a little bit over, but I want to ask just one more question. Everybody sees you as America's surgeon. Everybody wants you to be their surgeon. What do you want to say to them to make you America's president?
Well, I want America to recognize that this was not something that was on my bucket list of things to do. Okay? I was looking to retire. My wife was looking for that too. But after the prayer breakfast in 2013, so many of you began to say that this is something that I should consider. And I finally just said, Lord, if you want me to do this, all of the pundits say it's impossible, that you can't put together an organization, you can't raise the money, which really was quite a relief to me. But I said, if you want me to do it, you open the doors. And if you open the doors, I will walk through them. And as long as they stay open, I will continue to do so, because I want the American people to once again be placed at the pinnacle of this society. This is where it was designed in our country, and this is what it should be. And thank you so much.
Ladies and gentlemen, help us thank the birthday guy, Dr. Ben Carson.
Thank you to all that enjoyed that speech from earlier. I am going to, if I can get more of this information.
I got some stuff.
Oh, here we go. Oh, here we go. Go.
Okay.
Yeah, your mic's on.
I've got this very well sourced, impeccable source, and essentially the person that we're going to learn about, they are very confident that they've got the person at least involved in the first 4 shootings.
Wow.
The weapon was a handgun, and the person apparently, given his social media presence, is anti-government, and it's a single individual. Anti-government and hates the police. So that much I can tell you.
Wow.
Okay?
Yeah, that's very interesting.
Yeah. Anti-government, hates the police, and a lot of this was
how-
on social media.
And oh my gosh,
On
he
his social
documented on that. I mean,
on
I
his
said
social
that-
media, his views were very well known. So
I said in several of our editorial meetings,
single individual.
that there's got to be a way to find this person through social media. I felt like that
Social
was
media
maybe a huge
proved very
aspect.
helpful in this investigation.
Wow, that is great knowledge.
So,
That's very interesting.
That
to
much we know.
Wow, and there was only one cop that was, or was it one cop and then one undercover cop that was actually?
Don't know the
we don't-
particulars of the bust, but we're going to learn more. I think about 8:15, guys.
8:15. We have another.
Okay.
We have our press conference coming. But I don't. Were you ever concerned on the freeway? Was there ever a concern for you? I know I was.
I
glad
thought
it's
about
over.
it.
I'm
I
relieved.
thought about it, but I will say I wasn't obsessing about it, and I wasn't overly worried about it. And I don't know why.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably foolish on my part. But I don't know. I wasn't going to change my pattern because of this person.
Right.
I was aware of cars around me, though.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt that if a car, and it happened to me the other night, not on the freeway, but on the road, and somebody came up next to me and was hanging close
Yeah.
to my car and would not separate one way or the other, and I started getting a little bit edgy.
I did that last night on the I-10. I backed up dramatically.
Sure,
I did not
exactly.
want to be near them.
Well,
felt
I
that.
sped up, and he sped up, and then I slowed down, and he slowed down, and I thought, well, okay, how am I going to? And then I changed lanes, and he went ahead.
Mm-hmm.
That was it. So
He recognized you. You're kind of a big deal.
I don't think so. Not through my windows.
Well, this is. I mean, that's just fascinating. So, can you repeat one more time?
Okay, I'll repeat one more time. What we're going to hear, and this is from a highly placed source, impeccable source. The person taken into custody tonight is a man. The weapon is a handgun. This will be tied to the first 4 shootings, which were all bullets, not projectiles.
Mm-hmm.
These were the incidents that started the entire string of events. So it's 4. Whether this suspect will be tied to more, I can't tell you, because we have projectiles and bullets and then a road rage incident. We've got 3 separate things going here.
Yeah.
But in terms of the bullets in the first 4, they are very confident. This source said 98% sure.
Wow.
98 or 99, actually, this source said. And the social media profile of this fellow who's been arrested.
Do you know if he's
Anti-government.
younger or older?
Don't know that. Anti-government, anti-police.
Seems ignorant to put that stuff out there these days.
Well, there are a lot of people who
I
are
know they do.
anti-government and anti-police
I
who
know.
put stuff on social media who don't go and shoot up cars.
That's true.
So.
I know. It does seem like you're asking for that type of attention when you post
Right,
it for the world
right,
to see.
right.
One thing I remember from one of our meetings, we discussed that somebody during a similar investigation went on CNN and released the caliber, and at that point, a suspect. And this is a completely separate case, but in that instance, the suspect backed off for a little while and just switched guns, and then.
Well,
proceeded-
in this case, I think what we're going to find,
because you
according to my
mentioned that it's
source,
different
ballistics are going to
yeah.
be very important here.
Right.
There was some very good work that went on in this case.
Well, it's happened fairly quickly, and the amount of, and we've discussed this, you and I, we've discussed the amount that they've put into.
How are you, by the way? Good to see you.
Good to see you too.
I just jumped up here,
Missed
but
you. No, I
good to
love
see
it.
you, Kenzie.
It's better with you here. The amount of. They had expected, they had anticipated 11,000.
What's that? You need me?
11,000 flyers. They had put out 6,000, but they were anticipating distributing 11,000 flyers. They've got billboards all over the city. For weeks now, we've had on the freeway the signs that say.
And I can't tell you what was the break in the case. I wish I could tell you that.
Oh, you know.
Whether it was a tip or whether it was something else. But there was some very good police work that went on in this.
Well, that's super impressive.
So, anti-government, anti-police, male with a handgun, responsible for the first 4 shootings, authorities believe.
I'm anxious to see how old he is. At this stage,
I don't know. I don't have an age.
At this stage, I haven't been around in the news world long enough to know this. I just am typically a viewer. At what point do we actually see the face, see the name, get that information?
I can tell you this person's being interrogated right now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That is so interesting.
So they're talking to him.
Wow. So we won't know probably at 8:15 who this individual is.
I'm not sure if we'll have a picture by that point because this person's going to be in there for a while. Mm-hmm. We may not know the full story for several days as to how it all went down because they may need to link other crimes to this. So.
Wow. Well, I did, when we received notification that they released this other guy today, that they had...
That guy, I never felt from the get-go was the guy.
But I just thought it was, this is kind of embarrassing because we made such a big deal out of this individual, and then they released him. So to me, it was embarrassing. So to so quickly make an arrest, it does make it look like this guy was somehow linked to the individual that they've actually arrested.
That's an interesting observation. And I just don't know that.
I know.
And if I did, I couldn't tell you.
I know. That's what I like about you. Your moral compass is strong.
Thank you.
But I did think when I saw the notification that he had been released, I thought, that's kind of embarrassing. It looks embarrassing that DPS made the arrest and it was a big ordeal and it was a big show. But now everything seems to
you never know. You never know how it all came together.
How ignorant of me.
Or was it a tip from the public that led them to this particular person? Or did somebody alert them about, take a look at the social media of this person? Who knows?
And last we heard it was over 1,000 people had contacted them trying to help them
surprised.
out, which is amazing. But I also am not surprised due to the high volume of exposure this got. And this is a Fox National story. I mean, this was on every half an hour. Fox National was concerned for the city of Phoenix too. And they've even called this domestic terrorism, which I don't know how you prosecute that.
Yeah, I don't know if that's going to stick. I don't know if that's going to stick. And in fact, even the county attorney has kind of hedged on that, whether that's really the appropriate. So we'll see. We'll see.
Was that said? Do you think that was said to create the buzz that was created in regards to this story?
Don't know that. I don't know that.
They are very well spoken over there.
All parties involved. I think DPS should be commended, and I think the county attorney's office, has handled it well. This is tough because you're always caught in a case like this of giving out enough information to beat the bushes and find what you need to find, and giving out too much information and tipping your hand. Mm-hmm. This is what we'll find in the coming days and weeks as to how the investigation went down.
Well, I do hope we get it was such a sensitive story. It's made a lot of people uncomfortable.
Sure.
I mean, it made people uncomfortable to get in every day and go to work. It made wives uncomfortable that their husbands had to get in the car and go to work. So this is going to be a story that we're all very fixated with.
Yeah. I think the other thing is we got to be mindful of is the difference between projectiles and bullets was made. They delineated this very carefully at DPS. 8 were bullets. 3 more were projectiles.
And I still don't
so the
grasp
projectile,
what that could even possibly be.
The projectile person could be somebody else.
A copycat. We saw 3.
So
we had 3 arrested not too long ago. The 3 copycat, the little boys.
So there you go. Well, that may not be connected at all to this. It may be connected in the copycat portion of it, but these 2 may not be connected and likely are not at all.
Wow.
So.
Well, I'm looking forward. In 1 hour, we're waiting
1
for the
hour.
DPS
I'm going to go
press
wolf
conference.
down some dinner and
go get some more. Go get some more of those like exclusives for us, John Hook. We'll take your exclusives.
I'm trying to help you guys out. As I get more, I will pass it along.
Thank you.
Okay, you got it.
Yes, Alfredo mentions in the chat room, an investigation is still underway, so there might be another. That's absolutely correct. And it's just like John was saying, this individual is only linked to 4 of the 11 confirmed instances, and they're also projectiles. I still can't quite comprehend what that means, but I am going to, let's look at some of our coverage of the I-10 freeway shooting. And additionally, I want to let you know we are about to launch Skyfox to 59th Avenue in Northern because that is where we suspect the I-10 shooter was arrested. So we are about to have Skyfox visuals as well. And don't forget that we are going to have the press conference at 8:15, which is going to break down hopefully some more information in regards to the arrest, possibly how they stumbled upon this, perhaps how they stumbled upon this individual. But let's look at some of our I-10 shooter coverage. Horrific. It's been a very, very scary time for the Valley as we've been dealing with this story.
Drivers commute on the I-10 every day, you know that, but now a stretch of the interstate is becoming the most dangerous roadway in the Valley.
That's because for more than a week, someone has been shooting at cars driving on this busy freeway, including more incidents just yesterday morning. Anita Roman joins us live with this developing story. Anita.
Yeah, law enforcement definitely on high alert, and they're asking drivers and motorists to do the same. Those signs that you see above valley highways that usually tell you how long your commute will be, well, just like it is now, also flashing a warning sign saying that there's suspicious activity and that you are asked to call DPS at the number on the screen if you see anything alarming. Those signs have been flashing that message for about a day now, and that's because there have been 4 shootings on the I-10 since August 29th. Thankfully, only one person has been hurt, a 13-year-old cut by glass, and that 13-year-old expected to be okay. Arizona Governor Doug Ducey says catching the suspect who is behind the shootings is a top priority in the state right now. DPS says it considers the shooting spree an act of domestic terrorism. It is teaming up with the FBI, with Phoenix Police and Tempe Police as well. But until they find out who is behind the shootings, many drivers say that they feel like sitting ducks. Take a listen.
Every day I come in from East Mesa, and yeah, I mean, people just trying to commute to work, and they shouldn't have to be facing that kind of problems.
Is in the back of your head when you're driving?
Every day.
It is scary. It makes me more cautious to be in that stretch, and for everybody else that they could get hurt or get shot. You know, luckily nobody's been killed as of yet.
All right, again, if you see anything suspicious while you're driving, whether it's on the road or overpasses, bridges, DPS wants you to report it at the number. Write this down, put it in your phone if you are ready to head out for a commute. It might come in handy. 602-644-5805. And DPS also says if you have any information about who may be doing this, to call Silent Witness at 480-WITNESS. You may remain anonymous. So it was just a couple of days ago that DPS announced the reward for any information leading to an arrest would be $5,000. Well, that has now quadrupled. The reward raised to $20,000. Law enforcement very serious about getting this serial shooter off Valley roadways. Back to you.
Anita, thanks. Anita doing a great job reporting for us on this story. And what we want to do now is take a look at where all of this has been happening, so you've got some reference point. Okay, take a look here. The first 4 incidents happened more than a week ago. 2 cars were hit early in the morning on August 29th. One at 19th Avenue, That's number one. And then number two was out at 59th Avenue. That night, another was hit in the inner loop area at about 16th Street. And then 2 days later, another one at about 14th Avenue, closer to, say, the 7th Avenue exit. So then another one happened early yesterday morning at 43rd Avenue on the 10, just moments after a driver's car was hit by some sort of flying projectile in the westbound lanes. No confirmation yet that was an actual bullet, but moments after that, a Phoenix police officer who was on his way to work yesterday morning, driving into eastbound lanes, had his window shattered. DPS also says it's looking, so there you add them all up, you get the 4 and then 5, 6, and now DPS says it's looking into 3 other possible incidents that have occurred along the State Route 51.
Are we taking this live, guys?
No, not live on TV. No.
We are awaiting the DPS press conference expected at 8:15 p.m. I am trying to find some additional information in regards to this arrest for you. Unfortunately, DPS, I'm sure they are quite busy. I'm sure they've got a lot on their hands right now. However, I can show you that Doug Ducey tweeted confirming the arrest was made and congratulating DPS SWAT. Let's take a look here. Breaking, we got him. DPS SWAT team is in custody of the individuals suspected of I-10 shootings apprehended moments ago. So far all we have is a confirmation from Doug Ducey. I have been looking at DPS's Twitter. I have looked at Phoenix Police's Twitter. They haven't acknowledged it yet. However, we will stay on top of it and get any additional information for you. A lot of people excited on Twitter. I have the UK PA 86, good job to Doug Ducey and DPS, good job DPS, wow, says Michael Williams, Steelers fan AZ. Let's hope this is the right one so the craziness can stop, says Lady Heather. Good, says Mr. Faux Pow. A lot of people relieved. And we heard from I'm going to get some other videos geared up for us too while I talk to John Hook, who talked to one of his sources that said male that anti-government was posting negativity about the government on social media. Apparently ballistics and social media are going to be a huge part of this case, so that's something to look forward to. I know a lot of people have already mentioned how fascinating of a trial this would be. So ballistics and social media, a huge part of this case, but 4 of the incidents have been linked to a type of bullet or a type of gun, Hook said, and we're going to know more at 8:15. Here's some interviews from people that were regularly driving on the I-10 that were really kind of concerned for their safety. We have a few words from them, and then I've got some other stories for you in regards to, oh wow, after that, I think I have the copycat kids that were arrested for messing around on the I-10 too, I believe, with slingshots.
About it? Yes. And so, I mean, does it scare you? What are your thoughts about it?
It is scary. I have family that travels on the 10 all the time, so it's scary. I tell my sisters, don't take the 10. I take the 17 to work, but it's scary to think that somebody's out there shooting just random cars.
And, you know, GPS has put these signs, you know, on the traffic signals above the electronic boards. They put phone numbers and they said, be watchful for suspicious activity. Do you tell your family, you know, to make sure they call? Do you say, you know, hey, get off the freeway? So you were saying you get tell them to get off the freeway.
Yeah, I tell my sisters, don't take the freeway. Like, it's scary at night. Like, just take the streets home. It's scary to think that you can get shot. I have kids and they have kids, and I tell them, you never know when if they're gonna shoot your car or not.
Does that scare you when you're driving on the freeway to hear that people are randomly just shooting at cars?
Yeah, it concerns me because many times I'm driving along with my family, my 2 kids, and yeah, I'm kind of concerned about that.
When you said you drive down to Tempe.
Yes.
Do you work down there, or what do you do?
We kind of do work all over the valley, but that's where most of our work concerns at.
And so you're on the freeway all the time.
Yeah. Many times on the day I take the freeway, take 51, I-10, and all that.
Do you feel like when you hear that it makes you want to stay off the freeway? When you hear that people are randomly shooting, or do you feel like, you just got to live your life day by day?
Well, it's a risk going out there many times. You have to go out there, be really careful about it, and sometimes you can't avoid stuff like that. But, yeah, you just have to be really careful watching out, when you're driving out.
Okay. Here's an update. Press conference. Joined Director Milstead at DPS Studio 9 p.m. to discuss arrest of suspect in freeway shooting. So unfortunately, yes, we've bumped the press conference about 45 minutes. We were expecting an 8:15 press conference. Now we are expecting a 9 p.m. press conference, and that is the official word. Thank you to Alfredo in the chat room for informing me of that. I greatly appreciate it. Let me see if I have this video.
Well, it's true that these copycat.
So this is something that John Hook had mentioned earlier about how only 4 of the incidences had been confirmed to be associated with this man that is currently in custody. And here are some teenagers that were arrested on the 15th for, wreaking havoc on the I-10.
Cat offenders are not connected to the freeway shootings, but they are all in trouble. DPS says Albert German, Chris Cook, and Aaron Nottingham admitted to hitting cars and people with rocks from slingshots. All this happening over the weekend in Mesa and Queen Creek. DPS was called about some shattered car windows in the Far East Valley. More than half a dozen cars and people were hit. A man and his wife traveling between Power and Ellsworth when the driver's side window was shattered. The suspect's car was tracked down in a Chandler neighborhood. The teens are charged with criminal damage, assault, and endangerment, and another 18-year-old boy is also being investigated.
I wanted to apologize. I didn't mean for anybody to get hurt or for anybody to be scared. I didn't want anybody's vehicles to be damaged. I didn't mean for any of this to happen. Everyone is calling us the copycat I-10 shooter. That is not true. We're just a few teenagers going out and having fun, made a stupid decision, and we ended up here. I actually got a lot of threats the first time I was in my pod, and I had one of the inmates had given me a warning saying that the other inmates didn't like me there, and he told me that he recommended me to go and stay somewhere else.
Nottingham says he dropped out of high school, he is homeless, and he is living in his car. Reporting live, Steve Kraft, Fox 10 News.
Looking for some additional footage for you. I thought I had this teenager talking at great length about this. And of course,
I wanted to apologize. I didn't mean for anybody to get hurt or for anybody to be scared. I didn't want anybody's vehicles to be damaged. I didn't mean for any of this to happen. Everyone is calling us the copycat I-10 shooter. That is not true. We're just a few teenagers going out and having fun, made a stupid decision, and we ended up here. I actually got a lot of threats the first time I was in my pod, and I had one of the inmates had given me a warning saying that the other inmates didn't like me there, and he told me that he recommended me to go and stay somewhere else.
Like he has an option to go stay somewhere else. Let's see here. Let's look at some additional I-10 coverage that we have for you. This was pretty powerful. This was from one of our 9 p.m. broadcasts. Skip ahead. Looked too much here.
Department and
The serial freeway shooter strikes again, sending shockwaves across our valley roads as motorists worry they could be next.
right now there is a real and continuing threat to Arizona motorists.
Another driver becomes a victim, his car window shattered. 9 incidents along what is now the most dangerous stretch of freeway in the country, the I-10. Some motorists skipping the freeway altogether, saying it's not worth the risk.
Somebody's playing games, and I choose not to play that game, so I don't use the 10 right.
And now state and federal law enforcement making solving this case a #1 priority before someone is killed.
Don't kid yourself. This is a very important matter for the department and for the traveling public.
Thank you for being here. And right now, you are looking at live pictures from ADOT cameras along this very dangerous stretch of Interstate 10. Most of these shootings and incidents occurring right along this stretch of freeway. And tonight, some motorists are saying, forget it. We're going to find other ways around town. So let's give you an idea of where these are happening. The first 4 incidents happened more than a week ago, early morning on August 29th. 2 vehicles hit at 19th Avenue and 59th Avenue, as you can see on this map here. Later that evening, another vehicle hit at 16th Street. And then 2 days later, a driver's hit traveling along I-10 near 14th Avenue. Thankfully, a 13-year-old passenger in one of those cars had a cut to her ear, but no serious injuries. And then early this morning, very early, about 5 o'clock, the west along westbound lanes of I-10 at 43rd Avenue, and also a little bit further down when a driver's car is hit by a flying projectile. 1 minute later, on the opposite side of the freeway, a Phoenix police sergeant on his way to work says his window was shattered by some sort of object. He was startled, but he wasn't hurt.
Now, DPS says they are looking at 3 other incidents that could be related. An incident along State Route 51, this new location that DPS just alerted the public to, but not giving an exact location, as well as a shooting that occurred this past weekend near the Loop 202 and 32nd Street. And then another incident that happened today, but DPS would not elaborate exactly where. Nevertheless, DPS is calling this an act of domestic terrorism, and they're bringing in every available resource, including the ATF and the FBI, to help catch the sickos behind this act.
Anytime that you have multiple shootings against American citizens on a highway, that's terrorism. They're trying to frighten or kill somebody. I don't know if this is a copycat crime, if it's multiple people that are involved in this type of insanity. I mean, because somebody will get hurt or somebody will get killed if this continues. If you drive that stretch of roadway, always be vigilant. Under these circumstances, be hyper vigilant. Pay attention to your surroundings. Look what's next to you.
They're urging everyone who drives this stretch that if you see something suspicious, report it right away. But fear is keeping a lot of people off that stretch of I-10 for now. Hundreds of thousands of people take this stretch of the roadway to get to and from work. And tonight we caught up with some nervous commuters, some thinking of new routes to get them where they need to go that will lessen their chance of potentially becoming a victim. Fox 10's Ty Brennan joins us live with the story. Ty.
Yeah, Carrie, all afternoon we've been talking to drivers who use this stretch of the I-10 to commute, and a lot of them say that this is really unnerving. In fact, as you mentioned, some folks saying they're going to avoid the I-10 altogether.
Pretty scary stuff.
On a daily basis, hundreds of thousands of drivers travel this stretch of the I-10 near downtown Phoenix. Many say they feel like sitting ducks after DPS says someone is targeting motorists along this busy stretch of highway.
Every day I come in from East Mesa, and yeah, I mean, you know, people just trying to commute to work, and they shouldn't have to be facing that kind of a problems.
Is in the back of your head when you're driving?
Every day.
It is scary. It makes me more cautious to being at stretch, and for everybody else that they could get hurt or get shot. Luckily nobody's been killed as of yet.
Some people, like Renee Caldwell, not taking any chances.
I live out west, and when I come east, I use the side streets. I don't even use the 10 anymore. Haven't for a few days now.
She's avoiding the 10 altogether.
I'm driving a lot with my 2 granddaughters, so we don't want any problems, and I'm just trying to keep us safe. We should be beyond stupid stuff.
You would hope.
I would hope, but I see that somebody's playing games, and I choose not to play that game, so I don't use the 10 right now.
Very scary, very horrible. I hope they catch the person.
And earlier today, DPS is upping the reward for anybody who has information about this case from $5,000 to $20,000. You can remain anonymous and call silent witness, that number 480-WITNESS. DPS has also set up a tip line, that number 602-644-5805. We'll have all of this information on our website. Reporting live in downtown Phoenix, Ty Brennan, Fox 10 News.
$20,000 tip for someone who leads to the arrest of the person responsible for this. A lot of people concerned, including Arizona Governor Doug Ducey, extremely worried about the threat. He says he's receiving updates constantly from DPS and released a statement saying the safety of Arizonans is our #1 priority and we are committed to apprehending those responsible for these crimes. I ask all Arizonans to stay alert and contact authorities with any information that could lead to the arrest and prosecution of responsible parties.
And these shootings have a lot of people really nervous, and you're speaking out on our Facebook pages. Let's read you a couple of these now. Amaya says, this isn't my daily route, but I do know people that use this route daily. We just need to be more aware of our surroundings because the shooter could switch areas. Please be safe out there. Bridget says, I used to like the freeways, not anymore. Samantha says, I'm not driving on I-10 after dark anymore, not risking my life for someone's insane and sick enjoyment. And then finally, Daniel says, I took the long way home on Sunday night. As this story continues to develop, make sure you stay with Fox 10 News for the very latest, on air, online, and of course, tonight at 10 o'clock, we'll have an update for you, and beginning tomorrow morning, Fox.
All right, I left my post. I have to tell you, well, obviously we work in a newsroom where crazy things are. We found someone online that we think did it, but I can't share that until we confirm it. But it's fascinating. So I left you. I did. So I apologize for leaving you, but we're all trying to save everything we're finding on the internet because we know it's inevitably going to be taken down. And oh my goodness, it's absolutely insane. Let me share with you some additional information. Again, this is actually from our own John Hook. Let's see here. Oh, all right. I'm going to take you right now to the scene where we believe that the arrest was made. So this is Sky Fox over the scene where we believe that the suspect was arrested this evening. I'm sorry, I'm having trouble with my headpiece. This is Sky Fox where we believe the suspect was arrested earlier this evening. This was 59th Avenue in Northern. It appears as if they are towing his car from the scene. We are trying to be responsible in giving you his identity, but the second I get the heads up from one of my producers, I will share. But this is obviously Sky Fox over the scene where the suspect was arrested, and it appears as if they are currently towing his vehicle. I imagine it will be taken into evidence. John Hook, 11 minutes ago, tweets, freeway shooting suspect being interviewed right now will be tied to the first 4 shootings. Retweet. John Hook, freeway shooting suspect, male, weapon, handgun, anti-government, anti-police views. What I can say in regards to the social media profile that I saw is absolutely. This person was very aggressive in regards to the right to bear arms, solely based on their Facebook page. That is John Hook's most recent updates. Doug Ducey, let's see if he's updated since. Please be careful and stay alert. If you have any information about the I-10 shootings, call Arizona DPS at 602-644-5805. What? Great work by Arizona DPS investigators and SWAT team. Investigation remains ongoing. Breaking 48 minutes ago. We got him. DPS SWAT team is in custody of the individual suspected of the I-10 shootings apprehended moments ago. So this, let's see if any updates from Arizona DPS. Press conference. Joint Director Millside at DPS Studio 9 p.m. to discuss arrest of suspect in freeway shooting. So we are currently waiting for that to take place. You can see a wider shot of the area where the arrest was made. Fascinating. Let's see here. Here is some video of some of our recent freeway shooting coverage. Again, this is last week's video, but just so you can get a sense of the story, I want to show you some of our freeway shooter coverage from our elite team of reporters and anchors at Fox 10 Phoenix.
And in the shootings on the I-10, there has now been a possible 10th attack on the freeway.
All of these attacks happening in the last 11 days, and the latest comes less than a day after DPS started warning drivers to be extra careful while commuting. The victim, Joe Hernandez, says he was driving eastbound on the 10, that would be inbound toward downtown, when something came flying through his rear passenger side window. He says it happened on the 10 between 43rd and 35th Avenues, which is the area of some of the other shootings. He pulled right off there at 35th and went right to that Circle K. He says police told him his car was probably hit by a BB gun. Investigators haven't confirmed that yet. Here's Joe.
A loud bang, real loud. I looked back and I see my window was busted out. So I hurried up and got off and called 911.
What was going through your mind?
That it was the I-10 shooter.
Now, as in other cases, there is damage, but nobody was hurt. City, state, and federal law enforcement agencies have increased patrols along the I-10 corridor, hoping to catch this serial shooter before something even more serious happens.
So here's a look at where the attacks have taken place so far on the 10. We've created this map for you so it's easy to digest. They started on the morning of August 29th near 19th Avenue and another near 59th Avenue. Now, the third happened that night near 16th Street in the I-10. 2 days later, a shooting near 24th Street in the 10. And a week later, 3 more incidents, 2 Tuesday morning near 43rd Avenue, and now yesterday morning near 35th Avenue. Police are also looking into incidents on State Route 51 and the Loop 202. Those are possibly related as well. Again, anyone with information can call the tip line 602-644-5805. The number goes directly to the Arizona Counterterrorism Information Center, and someone will answer 24 hours a day.
Some people in the valley are taken to the streets. They are fed up with this, and they, as individual citizens, are going to do what they can to look for the I-10 shooter and try to keep people safe. They're calling themselves Bolt Force, and they put on these, they're dressed all in black. And the civilian crime fighting group says their goal is to find the person who's terrorizing the valley. Although the group's leaders already had a run-in with law enforcement. He was surveying the area around I-10 and somebody called police on him.
The communication error caused resources to be drawn to me instead of the shooter, which is bad. Possibly to them, I was out of the ordinary when I was doing my patrols.
That's what. Do you think that you're causing more confusion though than helping the situation?
I would like to say no.
The group says they've alerted law enforcement about their patrols, although DPS tells Fox 10 the agency would prefer civilians let them handle the investigation.
So interesting. The Bolt Task Force. I do have that Bolt Raw interview for you right here.
So, what's going on tonight?
Well, we're out here like all the other law enforcement agencies trying to catch the person responsible for shooting up vehicles on Interstate 10, and we're going to add a foot patrol element to it, and we're going to be dressed all in black body armor, carrying semi-automatic weapons, and we'll be in the shadows at night, and hopefully we can surprise somebody.
Do you think that will confuse some people? They might think you're the shooter and not somebody trying to help.
Now, it may have already happened.
Can you tell us about that? I think you got some video.
Well, that is what Phoenix PD and Bolt Force did not want to happen when we had our meetings, and it was supposed to get lined out, and apparently a lot of times things from PIO officers do not get to the officers on the street. That's exactly what happened, because I had also sent a detailed email, and it was also forwarded to DPS, and I also spoke to DPS on the phone last night and let them know. And again, it's communication error. And
But how are...
So, but everything's fine.
Was that you that got, or who was that?
Possibly.
We have the video, but I haven't taken a closer look at it yet. So were you dressed like this at the time, or?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
so you're dressed like this, patrolling. Someone called police and said there's a strange man with guns in my neighborhood.
Yes.
That's what happened. Okay.
Yeah.
What did you think about all that?
Well, you know, obviously I wasn't happy about it, and I did send Phoenix PD an email after the incident. So hopefully we can get this corrected, and I thought it was corrected because I had expressed my concerns before that the officers on the street weren't getting the message that Bolt Force is out on the town, and we give them specific times, specific areas that we're out. And so I think the communication needs to be better, because if it's not, me or one of my people are going to get killed, and I don't want that to happen.
Do you think you may be causing more confusion than actually helping the situation?
We've been around for 5 years, and we don't deal with DPS, and like I talked to DPS last night, we haven't had an interaction with DPS. It's usually Mesa PD, Phoenix PD, whoever. So they know more of us than DPS. DPS doesn't know us. But after today, they definitely know us.
So they told us they prefer that, all the investigation be left up to them. They really don't need help. What do you think about that?
Well, absolutely. And if I was still in law enforcement, I'd say the same thing. Again, the communication error caused resources to be drawn to me instead of the shooter, which is bad. And it wasn't a result of me, it was a result of a breakdown in communication. So if everyone was aware that I was out there and my people are going to be out here tonight, as they are now, the confusion wouldn't be there.
What if the shooter's dressed like you guys, though? What if he has the jacket and all black?
We're not going. When we patrol in groups of at least 5. So if it's a lone shooter, then it's not going to be Bolt Force. Now, granted, today I was out alone scouting and looking for shell casings and stuff like that, but I relayed that to the law enforcement agencies that we are helping. So.
What motivates you to come out and help, given all of the resources already out there to find whoever the shooter is?
Someone's going to get hurt or killed. And we're adding another element to this. And I believe our presence at night in the dark can be effective. And I'm aware of what DPS is doing, gang task force units, Phoenix PD, Tempe, all of them. We just add another element to that.
And even though they're telling you guys, stay home, we don't need your help,
They
it's
haven't told me
confusing.
that.
They haven't told you that.
No. No.
What have they told you?
And I'm not going to discuss private conversations because of liability reasons, but we're still out here.
They told us that they don't want the help. What do you make of that?
And I agree. I would urge all citizens in the community to, if they observe anything strange, to call law enforcement and let them handle it themselves. But you got to remember, some of us are former law enforcement, bounty hunters. You know, we've been doing this. We've done this before as a career.
So for the people who might see you around tonight, you guys will be walking in groups usually, and I guess what should you tell the public if they do see you and they don't know what's going on?
Well, that's where the communication with the law enforcement agencies, the PIO officers should let 911 operators know what area we're in. That's why we tell them what specific area we're in. They know exactly what we're wearing, and they know how we patrol. You know, I've had meetings with them. I've explained it. We have a website that explains our procedures and everything. So, you know, it should be. I don't know what the citizens should do. Everyone's skittish right now. I don't blame them for calling someone, you know. So I don't have any advice for them. But if you do see something and you don't understand it, if you see me, you don't understand who I am or what I am, I call the police.
At what point would you step back and say, okay, I'm not going to patrol anymore?
Probably if someone killed me. But I just always serve the community and the public, and I've always put my life on the line, and it's something that all of us enjoy, you know, and we do it to help people out. You know, we're there to help law enforcement. We're not there to impede them or anything like that, you know. And today wasn't meant to happen. It just happened because of poor communication. So.
Got it. All righty. Thank you so much. Oh, go ahead.
So there's a silver lining. And what happened today was someone called in. Someone's, the community's looking. They're not, sometimes people just brush it off, but people are looking.
Yeah. And in a situation like this where people are skittish, people are afraid, the freeway signs say, call DPS if you see something out of the ordinary. And that's what they need to do. And possibly to them, I was out of the ordinary when I was doing my patrols.
That's what. Do you think that you're causing more confusion, though, than helping the situation?
I would like to say no, but we are trying to get the word out about who Bolt Force is through social media. I plan on airing some commercials and things like that, and through interaction with the law enforcement, interaction with the community, getting in the community. We've had tons of emails and requests for us to patrol their neighborhoods, their businesses. We've had tons of emails saying, where's Bolt Force at? When's Bolt Force going to catch this freeway shooter? So we've had great response from the Valley and people.
Be careful.
Oh, wow. Yeah, so I don't, this is such a difficult scenario for me to be, because it's live and it's breaking, and I don't want to accidentally show you something that it hasn't been confirmed. I guess I could just put allegedly around everything, but as you can see, Nicole Garcia tweeted, breaking, DPS confirmed suspect is 21-year-old Leslie Allen Merritt, arrested at a Walmart tonight in connection with the I-10 shootings. And I had just pulled up, I was looking at some pictures that I'd found on Facebook of somebody by that name, but I can't confirm that it's him, but it's, it looks a lot like him. Not only does it look a lot like him, but this guy was sharing on his Facebook page Fox 10 Phoenix posts about the I-10 shooter. So that you can't help but assume that he has something to do with it when we're getting this name, we're finding him on Facebook under that name, and he's sharing Fox 10 Phoenix posts about the I-10 shooting. It's really actually quite scary, but I hate to, this is all allegedly, so that I don't get in trouble. So I'm going to stress that as much as I possibly can, but we've pulled a lot of assets in regards to his social media. For instance, here's a video of him shooting a pistol, and I don't know how much of this I'm really allowed to show, so hopefully I don't get in trouble for it, but this is some social media stuff we found associated with that individual's name, same age, from Phoenix, sharing Fox 10 Phoenix content on social media about the I-10 shooter, so pretty fascinating stuff. And I've got more of that, but I'm going to wait until I get confirmation from my bosses that I can play. Oh my goodness. I'm going to confirm before I post any more stuff. Let's go back to some of our interesting I-10 shooting coverage. Let's see. I have Doug Ducey's original comments on the I-10 shooter he made on the 10th. Let's take a look at those. I mean, he states this is a priority for me, and you could sense that in his tweet from earlier today, or this evening.
This is our top priority in the administration and the top priority of the Department of Public Safety. I've been personally briefed by Director Milstead yesterday on this, so I'd ask Arizonans to remain alert and aware, and we are going to find who's doing this and bring them to justice. Thankfully, no one has been injured at this time. Well, this is a public safety issue right now, and we have the Department of Public Safety coordinating with other law enforcement agencies to find the shooter, and they're on the case. And I can guarantee you that this is Frank Milstead's and the Department of Public Safety's top priority. Thank you all. Thanks.
Oh, fascinating. We are currently going via Skyfox to a pawn shop on 12th Street where the suspect reportedly was trying to pawn the weapon used in the shootings. So that's where we're headed up with Skyfox right now, to the pawn shop where the suspect was trying to pawn the weapon used in the shootings. Not the smartest move.
Maybe Sal can meet Nicole down at the Madison Avenue Jail.
More terror on the I-10, yet another shooting on this stretch of the freeway. A man in a pickup truck, the latest victim of a serial shooter.
Just heard a loud bang, real loud.
10 incidents in just 11 days on what now is the most dangerous stretch of freeway in Arizona. Drivers thinking they could be the ones hit next.
Law enforcement telling people to be vigilant, put down the phones, and look around. Tonight, we ride along with officers on the lookout.
This as a group of vigilantes are taking matters into their own hands, setting out to protect people here in the Valley of the Sun.
10 possible shootings in 11 days, and that includes the latest incident earlier this afternoon. And in each incident, DPS says the vehicles were hit with some sort of a flying projectile, and some possibly by bullets.
And none of the shootings have resulted in any major injuries. DPS wants to keep it that way. They're offering a $20,000 reward for information leading to an arrest.
But in case you haven't been following all of the details of these shootings, let's quickly recap the information for you.
Okay, the first shooting happened back on August 29th, just after 11 a.m. A woman was driving eastbound on I-10. Her car was hit. A teenage girl in the passenger seat had some minor cuts to her ear from flying glass. Then a few minutes later, at 11:09 a.m., a bus was hit with a bullet while going westbound on I-10 near 59th Avenue. Thankfully, the bus was empty. The driver wasn't hurt. The third shooting happened later that night, about 10:15 p.m. A car was going eastbound on I-10. Had just passed 16th Street when they were hit. And then 2 days later, on August 31st, a truck was hit near 24th Street and the I-10.
More than a week would pass before another incident was reported. Yesterday morning, 5:20 a.m., 43rd Avenue and I-10. A Phoenix police sergeant's truck was hit, shattering his window. 1 minute later, near 35th Avenue, another truck was struck with what DPS is calling a flying projectile. A third incident occurred yesterday, although DPS is not saying where or when it happened. And they're still investigating whether it's linked to these other shootings.
DPS says they're also looking at whether 2 other shootings could be related as well. An incident along State Route 51, as well as a shooting that occurred along the Loop 202 and 32nd Street late Sunday night. There were 3 men driving a dark-colored Toyota that opened fire on a motorist.
So if you're keeping score here, that's 9 separate incidents within a 10-day span, which brings us to today's shooting.
A driver has to duck for cover when the window of his pickup is shattered. He says he was driving east along, yes, I-10, when something came flying right into his rear passenger side window.
Now, he tells police he was hit somewhere between 43rd Avenue and 35th Avenue. So that's relatively right in the same area where some of these other incidents have happened. Detectives on the scene closely inspecting the damage. The driver, Joe Hernandez, says police later told him that he probably was hit by a BB gun.
I heard a loud bang, real loud. I looked back, I see my window was busted out. So I hurried up and got off and called 911.
What was going through your mind?
That it was the I-10 shooter.
Wow, people are nervous about this. That was Joe Hernandez, today's latest victim, and he was able to drive his truck back home.
And that's the amazing thing, that nobody's been seriously injured in any of these. And these shootings really causing a lot of fear among drivers. Some people say they do not want to drive on I-10 right now. DPS says solving this case is its #1 priority. So we have team coverage on this tonight. We begin with the very latest on these freeway shootings with Danielle Miller, who rode along earlier with a DPS officer, and she is live on Interstate 10. Danielle, what do you have?
Yeah, Troy, these freeway shootings haven't changed the way DPS troopers have been doing their day-to-day job, but they're definitely out here patrolling these valley freeways on high alert. Now, more resources have now been put into certain areas to prepare for increased calls for service.
I see a lot of concern that, why would someone just randomly be doing something like this?
DPS troopers busy keeping their eyes and ears open after the recent string of freeway shootings. Department of Public Safety Captain John Ortolano scanning every passing car for suspicious activity.
After you see millions of vehicles in your career on the highways, certain things start grabbing your attention. What's normal, what's not normal, how do people react?
Ortolano says freeways are a target because of the high rate of speed and the ability to stay out of sight. He's hoping the public will remain vigilant and report credible tips.
Their senses are heightened, and obviously any sound they hear now, they're questioning, is that a rock that hit my car? Or is someone trying to cause harm to me with a firearm?
Ortolano says although no one's been seriously hurt in any of the incidents, the circumstances are very dangerous. He says now more than ever, another thing people can do is put down the cell phone while behind the wheel.
With a chance to either be a witness or unfortunately a potential victim to some of the violence that's going on right now, if you're distracted by a cell phone, you might not see a potential danger or be able to give us some information that we could use that could help lead to the capture of the suspect or suspects that are doing this.
And And if you are involved in one of these shooting incidents or have any other type of projectile hit your car, you're asked to call DPS and report that right away, because troopers say the more recent the information they get, the better. Reporting live, Danielle Miller, Fox 10 News.
Thank you, Danielle. And you may have seen these signs today if you're out on the freeway. A little disquieting, right? DPS posting their hotline number and saying I-10 shooter tip line, just to remind you what's going on. They're reminding people if they see something to say something. And the hotline goes directly to the Arizona Counterterrorism Information Center. And that center is staffed 24/7. Investigators say they will evaluate and follow up on every tip they get.
And you can also submit tips through DPS's website. This is their homepage, dps.gov. You can click on the yellow box there. By the way, there's a $20,000 reward for information that leads to the capture of the people responsible. Well, we continue our team coverage now with Christy Siefkin. She spoke with a firearms expert about the freeway shootings. And everyone's been saying, are these shootings? Is it bullets? Is it pellets, BB guns? What is it? So, Christy, what do you have to say about all this?
You know, he had some very interesting speculations. Obviously, we don't have all the evidence at this point, but this gentleman, a firearms expert, his name is Anthony Enriquez, and he's been teaching technical and tactical firearms classes for 10 years. He believes that the shooter or shooters are firing semi-automatic weapons from a moving vehicle. And the fact that nobody's been hit yet by a bullet doesn't mean that the shooter is an amateur.
So this is what DPS is looking for. They're going to look for the shrapnel. They're going to try to determine what the material is.
Anthony Enriquez says shrapnel like this is key to shooting investigations. But until it's recovered from the targeted vehicles, pictures like this help tell a story too.
This bullet hole was definitely shot, as the vehicle was oncoming. This bullet hole right here indicates that it was actually shot from the side.
According to Anthony, it's unlikely that an air gun or BB gun were used in the freeway shootings. He says that windshields are built to withstand much greater force.
This particular type of job, in my opinion, would be done from a vehicle, mobile, moving, from a weapon that's most likely suppressed, and it's being shot and then they move.
Anthony says the weapons used in the shootings are more likely something like this, a semi-automatic long-range rifle similar to those used in the military. Rifles like these can shoot 1,000 yards, leaving plenty of room between the shooter and the target.
We could be dealing with somebody that knows exactly what they're doing and stays up all night and hand loads their own ammunition for this particular endeavor, or a complete amateur buying ammo at Walmart that's got a vendetta against traffic.
Now, Anthony says he believes that the type of rifle being used, it can also be accessorized with a scope to zoom in on your target, and in some cases, a suppressor that would keep the rifles from making any sort of loud noise. Reporting live, Christy Siefkin, Fox 10 News.
Christy, thank you for that. A group of civilians are out and about right now. They say they're taking matters into their own hands, and they're calling themselves Bolt Force. They're armed and they're out looking for the shooter themselves. Fox 10 viewer posted this video for us. It's one of the armed civilians being questioned by officers. Yeah, you walk around anywhere near I-10 right now with a gun, chances are you're going to be stopped and questioned. Passerby reported the person is suspicious. Police showed up. DPS tells Fox 10, we would prefer they let us handle this investigation. So let's continue our team coverage now with Jessica Flores, who talked with this Bolt Force group as they went out tonight looking for the shooter.
They're called Bolt Force, this civilian crime fighting group. You can see them right here behind me gathering near 35th Avenue and Roosevelt tonight. And their goal, to find the serial freeway shooter who has been terrorizing this community. Now you can see they're dressed in all black, wearing body armor, carrying semi-automatic weapons. And tonight they'll be doing foot patrols in this community. Now many of these guys out here tonight, they're former military, bodyguards, or bounty hunters. And some have law enforcement training. Now, according to DPS, though, they prefer to handle this investigation on their own. But take a look at some video we got earlier tonight. That's the leader of Bolt Force. He goes by the alias Bolt. He was surveying the area earlier today. That looks suspicious to some, of course, everyone on edge in this community. So police stopped to check him out, and they ended up frisking him.
The communication error caused resources to be drawn to me instead of the shooter, which is bad. Now, granted, today I was out alone, scouting and looking for shell casings and stuff like that. But I relayed that to the law enforcement agencies. Someone's going to get hurt or killed. And we're adding another element to this. And I believe our presence at night in the dark can be effective.
The group that's gathered here tonight, they'll be going around in a group doing foot patrols. They'll even be going over some of those overpasses, checking for areas that a shooter might be hiding. And the group says that they've alerted law enforcement agencies that they'll be out here. Reporting in Phoenix, I'm Jessica Flores, Fox 10 News.
You know, I know our officers always appreciate the support of the community, but I think this just complicates the investigation for them, because now we've got people who are driving around looking for the shooters with guns, and anybody who sees a gun in someone's car, they're not going to be able to tell if it's a vigilante, somebody who's trying to help or hurt them.
Yeah, people are very skittish right now, so I hope Bolt Force is careful out there as well. And remember, if you know anything about this, if you have any information, call DPS. That hotline number, it's 602-644-5805.
I think the key is put your phone down, look around, keep your eyes peeled when you're on the I-10 if you have to take the stretch of the road, and just be aware of what's happening. And of course, stick with.
All right, now the chopper is currently headed to, Chopper's currently headed to DPS headquarters. But what we were looking at before this, the chopper left, was a pawn shop where the suspect attempted to pawn the weapon that he was using. And ballistics were used to link him to the weapon due to the pawn shop. I'm just listening to people in the newsroom. Let's see. Here was a really interesting overview Carrie Lake created for us I believe it was just last Thursday.
Days, somebody or more than one person has been terrorizing the valley. Motorists are very nervous now after we've had now 11 confirmed incidents and possibly 14. 3 of them are still being investigated. And we've had them spreading all across the valley, really from west to east, now north to south. Today, the shooter, if these 2 end up being confirmed, will have moved onto separate freeways. So we've got the most known as the I-10 shooter has now moved on to the State Route 51, and also we've gotten some incidents on other freeways as well. But everybody's asking, where did these happen? What's the timeline and exactly what happened? So I want to show it to you right now. We're going to start with incident number 1. This happened back on August 29th. It was reported at 11:10 a.m. 11:10 in the morning, a bullet strikes an SUV traveling eastbound at I-10 and 19th Avenue. This is the only incident so far where there's been an injury. A 13-year-old passenger in the car had a cut to her ear after glass shattered from that passenger side window that was hit with a bullet. Now, that's incident number 1. We go to incident number 2, a little further west, August 29th, also at the same date, about 11:10 to 11:25, a bullet strikes a tour bus traveling westbound, I-10 between 35th Avenue and 67th Avenue. That's incident number 2. Incident number 3. This is a car traveling eastbound at I-10 in the mini stack. At 10:15 p.m., a bullet strikes that car. Incident number 4 is also a car, this one heading westbound, I-10, Sky Harbor Boulevard, State Route 51. A bullet strikes that car. The next incident involves a pickup truck, and this is incident number 5 now, August 31st, 4:30 in the morning, in the wee morning hours at I-10, somewhere between 24th Street and 40th Street. Incident number 5 here, a pickup truck is struck by a bullet. Now, we've got a 5-day gap between incident number 5 and incident number 6, which is basically up on I-17, where a bullet strikes a box truck traveling southbound on I-17 at Dunlap, and this happens at 5:50 p.m. So really, during the rush hour, a box truck is hit by a bullet traveling southbound on I-17, and again, there had been a 5-day gap before that incident. We go to incident number 7. This one takes us to the Loop 202 between 24th Street and 32nd Street. This involving a bullet again, westbound car, September 6th at 8:30 p.m. Now let's go to incident number 8. This is September 8th at 5:21 a.m. And this is a projectile at I-10 and 27th Avenue. Now, did you notice there we skipped it Labor Day? So the shooter did not get anybody on Labor Day. So this is the day after Labor Day, a projectile hitting a box truck traveling westbound on I-10 at 27th Avenue at 5:21 in the morning. Incident number 9, this one also on the I-10, eastbound pickup. This is an off-duty police officer traveling eastbound on I-10, 43rd Avenue between 35th Avenue and 43rd Avenue. A projectile hits that off-duty officer's vehicle at 5:35 in the morning on September 8th. So now we go to incident number 10, very close by, I-10 and 39th Avenue. Again, a projectile hitting a pickup traveling eastbound, just like that of the off-duty officer that was hit. And this is at 10:45 in the morning. Incident number 11, happening also on I-10, September 10th, today at 9:40 in the morning, I-10 and 83rd Avenue, and a bullet hits a semi-truck on incident number 11. Now, the next incidents, 12, 13, and 14, we should mention they have not been confirmed and linked to the freeway shootings, but they're still under investigation, and these are very new cases, all happening today. So we have incident number 12, also on the I-10, happening today at 11 a.m. is when it was reported. I-10 and 67th Avenue, a projectile hitting a semi. We go to incident number 13, and this one takes us to a new freeway around the valley, the State Route 51, and this takes us up to Shea Boulevard and the State Route 51. This reported coming in, a vehicle being hit with a projectile at 11:10 a.m., and this was a car traveling on State Route 51 near Shea when they heard the loud boom and they had their window shattered. Now we go to the last known reported incident here. And again, this one hasn't been confirmed yet and linked to all these cases, but they are in the process of investigating it. And this was the armored truck that was hit by some sort of a projectile, I-10 and Elliott, this one happening today. One thing I think is interesting is between 13 and between 14, there's a 20-minute gap. So if this is the same person, the same perpetrator, they had a 20-minute gap between the last two incidents that have been reported to DPS. Again, a $20,000 reward being offered for information that leads to the capture of the person or people responsible for this 13-day reign of terror across Valley freeways.
All right, now that was slightly outdated. However, it gave you kind of an idea of where some of these instances began. And John Hook had mentioned to you earlier that they can link this suspect to 4 of the shootings. They can link him to 4. But if you have stumbled upon his Facebook page, which is out there, and if you have a Facebook page, it's easy to access. If you have stumbled upon his Facebook page, you can see that he posts a lot of pictures and videos with guns. So if he's got access to more than one gun, perhaps they once they get into his place or once they see if he's tried or successfully pawned additional guns off, they can link him to more. So that's really interesting. You saw Carrie mention the 51, which I do believe they inevitably decided was a projectile, but here is Kraft with the women.
You can do a tease. 3, 2, 1.
That
Another
were
car
hit on the
by
51.
a BB, a pellet, something. This one on the 51 by Shea. And look at the damage. And then come back to me. This is a tease. Okay. Take 2. This is a tease. Come back to me. 3, 2, 1. Another car hit by something, a BB, a pellet. Look at the damage to this window. Happened on the... Take 3, 3, 2, 1. Another car hit by a... Take 4, 3, 2, 1. Another car hit by a BB, a pellet, or something. And look at the damage to this window. I'm Steve Kraft. I'll have that story.
Okay. Yeah. When did it stand up again? Because I tried to come back to you, but Chairman entered early.
All right.
Go ahead.
Take 2, 3, 2, 1. Well, let's take a close look. You can see that here is where this window was hit by a BB, a pellet, or something. It did a tremendous amount of damage. Imagine what would have happened had that pellet hit, for example, the front windshield. Well, it's true that these copycat offenders are not connected to the freeway shootings, but they are all in trouble. DPS says Albert German, Chris Cook, and Aaron Nottingham admitted to hitting cars and people with rocks from slingshots. All this happening over the weekend in Mesa and Queen Creek. DPS was called about some shattered car windows in the Far East Valley. More than half a dozen cars and people were hit. A man and his wife traveling between Power and Ellsworth when the driver's side window was shattered. The suspect's car was tracked down in a Chandler neighborhood. The teens are charged with criminal damage, assault, and endangerment, and another 18-year-old boy is also being investigated.
I wanted to apologize. I didn't mean for anybody to get hurt or for anybody to be scared. I didn't want anybody's vehicles to be damaged. I didn't mean for any of this to happen. Everyone is calling us the copycat I-10 shooter. That is not true. We're just a few teenagers going out and having fun, made a stupid decision, and we ended up here. I actually got a lot of threats the first time I was in my pod, and I had one of the inmates had given me a warning saying that the other inmates didn't like me there, and he told me that he recommended me to go and stay somewhere else.
Nottingham says he dropped out of high school, he is homeless, and he is living in his car. Reporting live, Steve Kraft, Fox 10 News.
And now we know that the suspect that is actually considered the instigator of all of the terror on the I-10 is only 21 years old, not too far off from these young guys that were arrested for being copycats. Nicole Garcia tweeted approximately 40 minutes ago, DPS confirmed suspect is 21-year-old Leslie Allen Merritt, arrested at a Walmart tonight in connection to the I-10 shootings. So now we know we're dealing with young people, which is horrific. We know that he is not the only one being questioned right now. Oh, he has been arrested. We know that there's somebody else currently being questioned right now along with him. Could be a significant other, could be a friend, could be whoever it was with him at the Walmart. But he is not the only one currently being questioned at this time. We are waiting on a DPS press conference that is going to begin at 9 p.m. 9 hours ago, we spoke to DPS, and let's revisit that press conference.
Briefing this week, pending any major event. We will not have a briefing over the weekend.
DPS's official
I want to talk about three different things that occurred within the last 24 hours that some of you have been asking about. Yesterday afternoon on I-17 southbound near Thomas Road, we took a report of a confrontation between two vehicles, one a sedan and one a motorcycle, in which a weapon was brandished. I cannot say much about this incident except we are currently investigating. Anticipating the question, it is my understanding today, having received a call a few minutes ago from the County Attorney's Office, that Mr. Oscar de la Torre Munoz has been released. We understand he will be released within the hour from jail. The court made that ruling regarding his other charges, as you recall, that he was booked into jail on a week ago today, not involving our case. As to his status regarding our case, suffice to say we know where to locate him, and that's our position on Mr. Munoz. We continue to respond and investigate broken vehicle window calls that I think we had at least two early this morning, one from yesterday. As I've said before, we investigate each and every one of these, and to my knowledge, none of the reports that we took from these broken window cases resulted in an addition to our 11 cases. We're still at 11 cases, and from what I gathered, all of these broken window, vehicle window cases were the result of road debris. So we still are at 11 confirmed cases in the I-10 shooting investigation, the last one occurring a week ago yesterday, and we continue to investigate this case diligently and around the clock. through the Emergency Operations Center. I just want to go into a little bit more detail about the assets involved in investigating this case. Our aviation unit is involved in this. Our partners at Phoenix Police, as you've seen this week, their investigators are assisting us. Officers, investigators, our troopers, our undercover folks and the Get 'em detectives, our detectives from the State Gang Task Force, they've been involved since day one. We continue to be on the highways, protecting the public with the marked and unmarked vehicles, and that will continue for the foreseeable future. Any questions?
The incident on I-17 you're investigating, is that related to, are you investigating it in relation to the I-10 shooting?
I think we are investigating that. I wasn't told of a link by the time I walked out here yet, but we are investigating. I'm not certain that it's related to that.
So Oscar Munoz is still a person of interest in this case?
I think for our purposes, yes. I've not been told otherwise.
Can you clarify a little bit on what the state had said, or the prosecutors or the court on this? It says the police report was not submitted, and you had said it was, that was for the other charges, not necessarily for your case. Can you elaborate on that a little bit? Can you clarify it a little bit?
I can't go into a lot of detail other than we spent a lot of time talking to Mr. Munoz. As I said yesterday, the day before yesterday when I had this briefing, he came to our radar, if you will, by a number by some information turned over to us regarding Mr. Munoz. The fact that he has been released from jail on these other non-related charges, I think it's fair to say that we still have an interest in him, but we're not at the point where we can say he's definitely a suspect, and he never was the prime suspect in this case.
Are you testing any sort of evidence or looking at anything you found via search warrants or after his arrest related to Mr. Munoz?
I can't really get into that. I'm sorry.
Will the public be concerned about his release?
The public continues to be concerned about this whole situation. Our investigation continues. The overhead signs that ADOT has generously continued to keep lit over the last, however long it's been, week or so, almost 2 weeks, indicates this investigation is ongoing. And Mr. Munoz, like I indicated the other day, is a piece of the pie. It's a puzzle piece, and we continue to investigate. So in terms of his status with us, we know his whereabouts, and we will keep track of him.
So if Mr. Munoz is a piece of the pie, then why didn't DPS give the proper paperwork to argue that he actually did violate his probation?
I think I've already answered that question. He has, we've spent a lot of time talking to him, and the fact of the matter is that we still want to keep him on our radar scope, but we have obviously not charged him with this crime.
Why is it that DPS will not confirm the 5 incidents involving a gun, bullets, or connected forensically?
Because, as I indicated before, when you get into ballistics, the detectives are spending a lot of time trying to add up various factors in the evidence collected in this case, and to telegraph that to the media would harm the investigation, would harm our ability to make an effective arrest, and to make the case, more importantly, stick to whoever we do arrest in this case, and we will arrest somebody in this case. So rather than go step by step with that evidence we have, although we appreciate the effort the media has been partnering with us in terms of getting the word out, we cannot give you that at this point. It's frustrating for the public, but believe me, it will. If you let us investigate this case and put all these pieces of this puzzle together, we will come up with an arrest, and we will come up with a rock-solid case that hopefully will reassure the public.
Can you speak at all to your budget? I mean, you talked about your aviation unit. Overtime, I would imagine, for some of these troopers and officers out there. What does this do for your budget?
The governor has been very generous in giving us whatever resources we need to conduct this investigation. This is as you know, our #1 priority as an agency, and we continue to be appreciative the good offers from his office. It's best to answer that question when we have made an arrest and this case has concluded, then I can give you all the numbers.
When we talk about the budget of the man hours, the amount of assets you're putting into this, you took the aviation unit, Phoenix PD, your officers, troopers, undercover, gang task force. Can you give us kind of a rough number of the amount of men that are on this?
You know, I've been asked that periodically, and I can only say that dozens and dozens of people in our agency are working around the clock, and they continue to do so. I don't have an exact number. Remember, we are working with other agencies as well.
Along the same lines of resources, you talk about aviation. Are you willing to go into the technology being used here?
No, I am not. All part of the investigation. I can't get, for those watching to hear the question, I can't get into the technology that we're using, if we're using. It's fair to say we're using anything and everything available to us to wrap up this investigation and make a credible arrest in this case, hopefully soon.
Are you any closer than you were a week ago to making an arrest in this case?
I think it's fair to say since a week ago today, we've made headway in this case.
So since things change all the time, and given what's happened with this person of interest this morning being released, what kind of update can you maybe give us on whether or not there is one or multiple people you maybe believe involved in this, or whether there may be a connection of individuals working individually on this? Maybe touch on maybe that one person you believe involved.
Ultimately, there are, as the director indicated, there are three scenarios involving this case. They're the original incident of the weekend of the last weekend in August, beginning August 29th that you're aware about, those 4 gunshots fired over that weekend from Saturday to Monday. That's one scenario. The following weekend, the Labor Day weekend, we had the road rage incident, which we put out a press release, and we still want to locate that person. And then there's the projectile shootings that occurred from that week on. So there's 3 different scenarios. We believe that if and when we make an arrest, hopefully the rest of that will fall into place. But there's 3 scenarios we're investigating, and that's why we're investigating as diligently and as intensively as we are.
One of the questions we're getting a lot from viewers has to do with these projectiles, and they're wondering if any have been recovered and if any further information can be provided about what they are.
I can't really answer that, David. I think in terms of the projectiles, all of our teams of detectives are working on various aspects of these scenarios, as I just indicated, and I can't really speak to what they've recovered and what they've analyzed. Anybody else? Thank you all for coming. Like I say, if something bigger develops, we'll schedule a news briefing, but that's about it for this week.
So we do have sound from the mother-in-law, and we're going to be showing you that during our 9 p.m. broadcast. I don't know how we're going to do that, though. If we take the full press conference live, we're going to see how this all unfolds. But we are awaiting this press conference, which is going to happen in the next few minutes. I'm going to show you Troy Hayden's Facebook page because he posted a video. He posted a video from the suspect's Facebook page of him shooting guns.
It's absolutely none of their business what you own and refuse to comply. Gun shooting a gun district. Yeah, well, okay, so.
So this is on Troy Hayden's Facebook page. He took a video of a video, but I think that's safer than me actually posting that because I don't want to get in trouble.
Americans register nothing. It's absolutely none of their business what you own and refuse to comply. Gun shooting a gun district. Yeah, well, okay, so.
Evan says, I'm new to this. What's happening? Well, let me tell you what's happening. There's breaking news in the I-10 shooter case, serial shooter case. This individual was arrested this evening during the 6 p.m. hour, I believe, approximately around 6:45 at a Walmart near his home. He had his mother-in-law and child with him. His car was towed. Apparently, social media and ballistics were a huge source in this case. They can link 4 of the 11 confirmed shootings to this individual with a gun that he attempted to pawn at a local pawn shop. So we had looked at some Skyfox visuals of that pawn shop earlier, but apparently he had and this is also something that's very interesting about this individual's Facebook page is that he has been sharing our Fox 10 Phoenix posts in regards to the I-10 shooting on his Facebook page. So clearly that was his awkward way of gloating about what he had been doing, what he had been getting away with, kind of. Let's see. Trying to find some interesting packages for you in regards to previous coverage of the shooter, because we've given you such great coverage, different angles in regards to the story here on Fox 10 Phoenix. We have excellent reporters and anchors. If you're not familiar with us, you should subscribe to our YouTube channel right now. You should, if you're local, you should always be watching Fox 10, but you could subscribe to our YouTube channel right now to get this kind of information on a regular basis. We are Fox 10 News Now, Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 9 p.m. But let me show you, this is from last week, but it's some of the coverage so you can kind of grasp what Phoenix was going through.
Lots of drivers still on edge as they head into work this morning, no doubt about it. I know we were taking extra precautions and being extra observant. More than a dozen incidents of cars hit by something.
Yeah, 11 times it was a bullet. But what happens next in the investigation? We have that question just like everybody else. What are troopers looking for?
Yeah, joining us this morning, Anthony Enriquez. He's a firearms expert. And thanks for coming on.
Yeah,
thank you.
Nice to meet you.
We see these the video of the police officers, checking a car. We see some video of what could be a bullet hole. Could
to
be
correct
something from a
Andrea,
rock. So what we wanted to know is
it was not 11 times confirmed a bullet, but it's 11 confirmed instances of the I-10.
We know that current
Suspect.
materials that are being used for like the glass and the metal for the body of the car are going to be pretty resilient. If you've ever driven on the freeway, we know what it's like to hit a rock or even a retread tire, right? So we know what kind of damage is going to be done. But a bullet has a higher velocity and it also is meant to penetrate. So typically in these particular instances, DPS is going to look for the entrance, of the bullet, of that projectile, and then also where that projectile either landed or exited. And then what they're going to try to determine is what that projectile was made out of, And that's going to give them an indication of what kind of firearm was possibly used with it. Also, they're going to get a basic layout of maybe even the type of caliber of ammunition that was used for this particular type of projectile.
You said that DPS would be looking, especially if it was a bullet, that there would be an entrance, and I would imagine then there would be shrapnel, perhaps maybe an exit of where the bullet went.
Right.
And you brought some pieces of shrapnel from bullets.
These are bullets that have been...
These are actually bullets that have been shot into a vehicle.
Okay. These were shot into a vehicle?
These were actually shot into a vehicle. As an instructor, we've had to do all kinds of training and teaching, and so what I did is to kind of show students of what the characteristics and dynamics of ammunition do to a vehicle. This particular round is a .45 that went through 2 doors of the vehicle, and it looks like it's been virtually untouched.
Yeah, wow.
This was a Chevy Suburban. This right here went into, actually landed into a engine block, right here. This was a hollow point from, I believe, a .40 caliber handgun.
And that hollow point is designed to open up like that,
yeah,
right?
exactly.
Yeah.
And a lot of these rounds are designed to fragment as well. So that's one of the obstacles that DPS is going to be, having in front of them during their forensics and during all of their investigations. They're going to have, pieces of this. But if we're lucky, DPS is going to find certain characteristics, say like the fingerprint of the bullet or the fingerprint of the gun. You see the rifling marks here?
Yes.
That's what DPS is
And
looking
that's what
for.
they would be able to tell what type of weapon
What type
it came
of weapon,
from.
what kind of caliber of weapon it was.
And they would be able to match the weapon with that bullet.
Absolutely. A lot of times, especially new weapons or new firearms that are made and manufactured, they get a test round fired through them. And that test round is sent over to the FBI. And if you've ever purchased a gun, you're going to get a casing inside the gun and all the, the whole packaging and stuff. But at least they'll have some kind of record of what the rifling is, because each rifling mark is unique to that firearm.
I know it depends on distance and all that, but is there a caliber of gun, of a bullet or cartridge that would not penetrate a windshield? Like a 22 short or 22 long?
Not necessarily. A lot of these 22s are actually one of the more lethal rounds out there because it's so unpredictable. I've seen 22s, not even penetrate the door, and I've seen 22s go right through a door.
But the reason I asked is there were some windshields where the projectile, whatever it was, didn't go through.
Right.
It could have probably been a rock.
Right.
Or maybe a BB gun. Or...
And I think that's why DPS is trying to refer this as projectiles.
Right.
So we don't alarm anybody and, indicate to everybody that, oh man, just because this particular, projectile or, material hit your car isn't necessarily a bullet.
Right.
Okay.
Okay. That's what we want to try to kind of convey as well to people, is it may not be a bullet. Today, I hit 2 rocks on my way to work, and a semi nearly took me out with a car on my way from I-10, from the 303.
Well,
we're all member of that club.
Yeah, exactly.
You do, quickly, we're out of time, but you do firearms training, concealed weapons course?
I do. I teach concealed weapons permits. I teach armed guard licensing through my company, Firebird Tactical Solutions. I also teach advanced classes in handgun, rifle, and shotgun. So
Michael asks in the chat room any accomplices, and we do know that they are questioning not just this 21-year-old male, but another individual as well right now at the same time. So we know that there are multiple people being questioned at this very moment. We are going to hear from DPS in a little bit over 15 minutes. We are looking forward to hearing from DPS, and I know we had an interesting interview with DPS. The morning show did. And I'm not finding that video here.
Well, just be ready to see how that goes. They've actually been pretty good though.
And I know we've got great sound from the mother-in-law of the suspect. It's actually currently in editing. We are blurring out the face of the child she's with, and we have to beep out some of the language. But we're going to have all of this for you at the 9. Where do my videos disappear to?
Are we sure about the guy's name?
Yes, yeah. Leslie Allen Merritt Jr.
John Doe says, why the hell would you go and pawn it after using it in a crime? Perhaps you're not the smartest or the sharpest tool in the shed, the brightest bulb on the Christmas tree, the brightest crayon in the box. Perhaps that's why. Why wouldn't you just throw it in a lake or into the Grand Canyon or something? I have no clue. Let's just, here is a package from last week in regards to the shooting. This is when we were very hyper aware of the situation, and it seemed as if, really quick, I just lost it. But this is when we were super hyper aware of the situation, and it felt like something was happening every day or every other day. At one point, we had 4 instances in one day. So take a look at some of our coverage from last week of the shooting while we anticipate a press conference coming in 15 minutes.
Countless drivers commute on the I-10 every day, you know that, but now a stretch of the interstate is becoming the most dangerous roadway in the valley.
That's because for more than a week, someone has been shooting at cars driving on this busy freeway, including more incidents just yesterday morning. Anita Roman joins us live with this developing story. Anita.
Yeah, law enforcement definitely on high alert, and they're asking drivers and motorists to do the same. Those signs that you see above valley highways that usually tell you how long your commute will be, well, just like it is now, also flashing a warning sign saying that there's suspicious activity and that you are asked to call DPS at the number on the screen if you see anything alarming. Those signs have been flashing that message for about a day now, and that's because there have been 4 shootings on the I-10 since August 29th. Thankfully, only one person has been hurt, a 13-year-old cut by glass, and that 13-year-old expected to be okay. Arizona Governor Doug Ducey says catching the suspect who is behind the shootings is a top priority in the state right now. DPS says it considers the shooting spree an act of domestic terrorism. It is teaming up with the FBI, with Phoenix Police and Tempe Police as well. But until they find out who is behind the shootings, many drivers say that they feel like sitting ducks. Take a listen.
Every day I come in from East Mesa, and yeah, I mean, you know, people just trying to commute to work, and they shouldn't have to be facing that kind of problems.
Is in the back of your head when you're driving?
Every day.
It is scary. It makes me more cautious to be in that stretch, and for everybody else that they could get hurt or get shot. You know, luckily nobody's been killed as of yet.
All right, again, if you see anything suspicious on the road or overpasses, bridges, DPS wants you to report it at the number. Write this down, put it in your phone if you are ready to head out for a commute. It might come in handy. 602-644-5805. And DPS also says if you have any information about who may be doing this, to call Silent Witness at 480-WITNESS. You may remain anonymous. So it was just a couple of days ago that DPS announced the reward for any information leading to an arrest would be $5,000. Well, that has now quadrupled. The reward raised to $20,000. Law enforcement very serious about getting this serial shooter off valley roadways. Back to you.
Anita, thanks. Anita doing a great job reporting for us on this story. And what we want to do now is take a look at where all of this has been happening. So you've got some, take a look here. The first.
You're looking at live visuals from the DPS press conference that we are about to go to. Live visuals from the DPS press conference. Let me... These videos. Here's some videos we pulled off of his Facebook page. We believe these are him shooting guns, allegedly. These were pulled from his Facebook page. And again, the larger visual you see are DPS. Are set up at the DPS press conference that we are anxiously anticipating.
Ready?
Oh, there's a child there. Wow. Is it just me, or does it sound like the child is crying after that happens?
Ready? Ready? Here. Oh, that's good. He's good.
That's horrible. That's literally horrible.
Ready?
tried to pull on the gun.
Ready? Here.
And I'm hoping to find out. Yeah.
Yep.
We are now 9 minutes away from DPS press conference in regards to the I-10 suspect arrested earlier this evening.
Yeah.
8 minutes to go. We are anxiously awaiting the DPS press conference in regards to the I-10 suspect arrested. 21-year-old male. White male. The weapon was a handgun, described as anti-government, anti-police. Leslie Allen Merritt is his name. He appears to be a father. He was arrested at a Walmart this evening. His Saturn towed. He had a grenade on the back of his car. We were notified of the arrest via Governor Doug Ducey, who's received over 1,000 retweets and 800 favorites for his original tweet, "We got him." DPS SWAT team is in custody of the individual suspected of the I-10 shootings apprehended moments ago. The photo to your right is the alleged suspect. 21-year-old Leslie Allen Merritt, arrested at Walmart tonight in connection to the I-10 shootings. Nicole Garcia, Fox 10, is our own local celebrity that broke that name for us here at Fox 10. So thank you so much to Nicole for getting us that information. But we originally heard about the arrest thanks to Governor Doug Ducey.
Check right now.
6 minutes until we expect.
Check 1 2. Check 1 2 3 4 5. Hello.
BK.
Check 1 2.
Thanks for the check.
Got it?
We got
Okay.
it. If you are joining us for the first time, we are Fox 10 News Now. We stream Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. typically, unless there's breaking news, to 9 p.m. We're going to be going later tonight for you because we have breaking news in regards to the I-10 shooter case, but we do like to stream these events live Monday through Friday, breaking news, events all over the country. So go ahead and subscribe to our channel if you are a fan of the news and if the news is a typical interest to you. Go ahead and subscribe to Fox 10 Phoenix. We are live Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 9 p.m. Going a little later for you tonight due to the breaking news.
Oh, okay. Right. Got it.
You already launched that. They'll probably charge you for that. You know what when they yeah, is that what it's like? Is that that's like
We are looking at 3 minutes until the DPS press conference starts. And I'm also going to take you live to our 9 p.m. broadcasts with John Hook and Carrie Lake so you can take a look at, we have an exclusive interview with the mother-in-law, which we actually had to edit because I heard that there is some foul language involved. Additionally, I saw someone in the chat mention that the father's recently been interviewed, not by us, but by a different outlet, and he used the word moron within the interview. So I'd be interested in knowing if he's using the word moron to describe the arrest or the person that's been arrested, his son.
Legal flags money. They are actually going. Standing by, watching.
We are waiting 2 minutes. In 2 minutes, the DPS press conference is going to start. Thank you so much for your patience.
Yeah, they're, I don't know, some people are saying to me. All right.
The shootings that we dealt with. So we had 11 shootings, and the early ones now were done with bullets, and they were all on I-10, shot with guns, with real bullets. And then we had, near the end, we had some projectile shootings, and those are down here. And those were, we believe, BBs or pellets of some sort. The word we're getting now, and again, I'm going to put this right over here. On News Now, we're going to have this news conference coming up in just a moment. But this is a pretty big deal, Kinsey, because we've been talking about this for about 3 weeks now.
Yes.
The first shootings on August 29th
Right.
is when they happened, and really a lot of people have been terrorized by this.
We have been, yeah. And we have to. You have
I
to
think
take
I have to
the
talk
I-10.
kind of loud so they can hear you.
You take the I-10 every day, don't
I
you?
do. Not through the area that goes through the center and west part of town, which I think is what where most of these shootings have happened. But yeah, I mean, I've talked about this before. My wife was saying, I've got to get through town. How am I going to figure out a way to get around things so I'm not going on the freeway? And I know a lot of people thought that way.
Yes.
Because you had somebody randomly shooting at cars. The information we have so far on the identity of the suspect that is leaked out, and I don't want to give his name right now, but it's a 21-year-old man, young man.
West Valley is what I've heard.
West Valley from Glendale. He has, if you go to his Facebook page, Les Merritt Jr. is what the name that has leaked out, and one of our reporters on the scene has confirmed that for us, that that's the information she got. But
it appears he's a father.
Yes, but it looks like a brand new dad.
Yeah.
Brand new father.
And have you seen the video on his Facebook page of someone, it could perhaps be him, that it's kind of fuzzy, with the child? Let me show this to you. I can show this to you right here. I think this will horrify you as a dad. But the video is of...
It appears that he's holding...
Yeah, this...
Here we go, right here. I'll show it to you right here. Want to pull back on that?
Start it again.
And it's tough for me to shoot this sometimes, guys, so forgive me. That looks okay.
And
All right, so look at that little baby.
And if you listen, you hear the baby cry and walk off.
So that's from the Facebook page of Les Merritt Jr., who is 21 years old, from Glendale.
Very opinionated on government, very opinionated on his gun rights.
Posted a lot of things on the shooting.
Right. No, he shared Fox 10's updates on the shooting,
he
which
shared
is
a lot of our
actually
updates.
Quite frightening.
And depending on the timeline that you see on Facebook, it looks like one of the very last things he did as a free man, if we get the confirmation on him that this was him and he was the one posting on this Facebook page, it's attributed to him. He shared one of our tweets or one of our posts about marijuana possibly being legalized. So here we are.
Oh, it looks like we're going to get started any second
so here's the breaking news. As you can see down here, I'll get a little better view of it when we get closer, and I'll turn the sound up so you can all hear it. And looks like we're getting close to possibly having this happen. They said 9 o'clock. Generally with these things, they can go, they can start a little bit later. But when it starts, I'll go ahead and put it up so you can all see it. And this is hit close to home.
That the I-10 freeway shooter is in custody.
This is great.
And he has been identified again as 21-year-old Leslie Allen Merritt Jr., a landscaper from Glendale, to say that he is certainly a gun enthusiast would be putting it mildly. His social media is full of that stuff.
And the governor simply tweeting, "We got him." And that was actually, that tweet went all around the state, all around the country. DPS confirming there have been 11 shootings on Valley freeways. They've been able to link 4 to the 9mm handgun that they believe is linked to this man, Les Merritt Jr.
It's one of those things, when we first started learning about what was happening in the very early days of this shooting, I came in here and I remember we had a big talk about it, and one of my big arguments was, look, if so many people in this town drive down I-10, that is the busiest stretch of freeway in town. I think by far. I'm pretty sure that the stats, back me up on that. And so basically someone taking random shots, and these were gunshots that were going into the side of semi-trucks and passenger cars. And you've got people saying, here we go. All right, I'm going to go over to the TV, starting right now.
Mosted, and we're going to be hearing from several people involved in this investigation.
Tonight, I'm Bart Graves, the spokesman for the Arizona Department of Public Safety. Joining us for this news conference is the Maricopa County Attorney Bill Montgomery, Tom Atterbury, the special agent in charge of the ATF, and our federal U.S. Marshal David Gonzalez. Director Frank Milstead of the Arizona Department of Public Safety has an announcement to make. As you are aware, we did make an arrest tonight in the case of the I-10 shooter. With more information on that, the Director of the Arizona Department of Public Safety, Colonel Frank Milstead.
Good evening. Thank you for being here. Tonight does not happen without a lot of effort from a lot of very hardworking men and women in law enforcement. The collaborative efforts of Arizona law enforcement could not be any more clearly defined than by this case tonight. The gentlemen standing behind me and their agencies, along with the Phoenix Police Department, and notably the Phoenix Fire Department in their efforts to help us with the Emergency Operations Center, was a great place to launch this investigation from. Over the last 2 weeks, Arizonans have been terrified by shootings that have been occurring on Interstate 10. Along with that, I believe we have some copycats that decided to participate. Tonight, we have made an arrest in the I-10 shootings that occurred on August 29, that day, and on the morning of August 31, 2015. Subject is in custody because the weapon that he owned is forensically linked to these crimes. Arizonans have been incredible in their effort to provide us with leads and tips. I cannot tell you how much it inspires me to lead a police organization in a state where the community has such trust for their law enforcement as they do here in Arizona. The governor's office has provided me with everything that I've needed to conduct this investigation, their support and technology and finances that went along with running this investigation. Are there others out there? Are there copycats? That is possible. We will continue to investigate. Tonight, I cannot give you a whole lot more detail as interviews and search warrants are underway. But I thought it was important for Arizonans to know that the weapon and the man who we believe that was responsible for what started this spree in Arizona is in custody. Thank you.
Time for just a couple of brief questions.
So you're saying that this man is only responsible for the first 2, not the other 9?
No, sir, I'm not saying that.
Is there a number of how many shootings he is related to?
Right now, we know that he is related to the first 4 shootings due to the weapon that he owned being involved in those shootings.
Director, can you give us any insight in regards to how you were able to identify him as the I-10 shooter?
He is forensically linked to the weapon involved in those first 4 shootings.
How did you get to him, though? You linked the weapon after. How did you find him?
I'm not at liberty to discuss that at this time. Again, there's going to be more to follow on this, all of you. I know that filling in these pieces is important, and you're looking for that. I can't give it to you now because we literally have had this guy in custody for just a number of hours, and there's a lot to be done before we get to that point. I thank you for coming out, and we'll talk more later.
Thank you all.
Wow.
That was interesting. Bill Montgomery, the man who will have to prosecute this guy, the county attorney, is there, and they all walked out. And I think what you're seeing here is they want to make sure this is buttoned up. Frank Milstead has only been on the job since February, appointed by Governor Doug Ducey. This is his first major test as the director of the Department of Public Safety. He wants to make sure this investigation is not compromised in any way. They're being very
I also
careful.
think just as important, you know, they could have come out tomorrow morning with this information. They want the people of Arizona who take the I-10, who drive our valley freeways, who have been, and I'm one of them, driving, you know, in a very nervous state for 3 weeks, to know that they believe they have caught the guy responsible. We're talking about a young man named Leslie Merritt Jr. And there were 4 shootings over 2 days that they are linking him to.
August 29th, August 31st.
And 31st, but there were 4 shootings of those 2 days. Nobody was killed, thankfully, but there was a 13-year-old girl who was a passenger in one of these vehicles who had a minor injury.
By flying glass.
But I think it was more of the fear that Arizona was under, and you're looking at a map.
Here's a map, and you see that stretch on that I-10 corridor, and then the one that reaches up on I-17. But keep in mind, we have 3 things going in this investigation. The 3 you see in yellow were projectiles that were possibly fired from the side of the freeway, not on the freeway. My sources tell me that these are linked, the 4 here are linked to a shooter in a car with a handgun, possibly a 9mm handgun, shooting through the window, an open window, to the car. And so these ballistics and the trajectories of the bullets are going to be very level, as it would be with another driver. The other 3 in yellow are from up higher and are projectiles, possibly some type of BB gun, pellet gun, we don't know.
And Frank Milstead saying there could be a copycat out there. That has not been ruled out. Take a look at this map, though. 1, 2, and 3, 4. Those are the first 4 shootings. They were all a 9mm handgun, and they were in those first 2 days. What Colonel Milstead said are linked to this shooter. So they were right there along the I-10, basically from about 19th Avenue to the 51, and that's where this whole thing started. And as we kind of move along here, we've got reporters all over covering this story all over the valley.
Nicole Garcia has been looking into Les Merritt Jr.'s social media profile, which is very, very interesting. She has more on that tonight. This has been a remarkable night, Nicole.
Yeah, a huge break for DPS in this case. Like you said, it's been 3 weeks since this investigation began, since the shootings began. And finally tonight, DPS can say they have a suspect in custody. The suspect is Leslie Allen Merritt Jr. And while DPS Director Frank Milstead not saying a lot about the suspect during his news conference, we did find out a lot about him on social media. He has a Facebook page, or there is a Facebook page that appears to be linked to the suspect, Les Merritt Jr. And on that Facebook page, several posts, many posts about guns and rifles. The posts are pro-gun, pro-Second Amendment. There are several posts and even a video on there of the suspect shooting guns as well. So from what we gather on his Facebook page, we're finding that he is into guns. Also on that Facebook timeline, several anti-government rants, and interestingly enough, also several posts of news stories related to the I-10 shooting investigation, including sharing stories that we covered on Fox 10 about the investigation. So again, DPS director not saying much about the suspect yet, but if this is indeed his Facebook page and it is linked to him, there are several things on that Facebook page that appear to be related to the shooting investigation, namely all the links and the shares that articles that he shared about the I-10 shooting investigation. Again, DPS is questioning him at headquarters as we speak. They said that they've only had him in custody for several hours, but after he is done being questioned, he is expected to be booked here into the 4th Avenue jail. All of this developing starting right around 7 o'clock this evening when the governor sent out that tweet saying, "We got him." So a huge break, a huge night for DPS, having a shooter in custody, a suspect in custody being questioned right now. And interestingly enough, all of this happening on the same day that the person of interest who was originally taken into custody over a week ago, those charges against that person, Oscar Munoz, has been dismissed, and he is being released from jail tonight as we speak as well. Again, Leslie Allen Merritt Jr. being named the suspect in the I-10 shooting investigation, being linked to the first 4 shootings happening on August 29th and August 31st. Forensic evidence linking a gun in his possession to those crimes. So again, he is expected to be booked here into the 4th Avenue jail once he is done being questioned by DPS. Of course, we'll continue to follow this developing story, and as we learn more about the suspect, we'll bring that to you. Back to you guys.
All right, thank you, Nicole. And he was taken down at a Walmart in Northwest Valley. But take a look at this. I want you to see this pawn shop. This was critical in the case. This is a pawn shop at 12th Street and Indian School Row where the suspect, Les Merritt Jr., allegedly tried to pawn off a gun earlier today. Sources with the city say lab analysis confirmed the same gun to the freeway shooting is the person who pawned off and purchased this 9mm handgun. And this is where possibly the investigators were able to apprehend and grab that gun and then do the ballistics testing.
It sounds as if he was pawning a second gun, a different gun today at that or at the pawn shop. And then a gun earlier used in the earlier shootings was recovered from that pawn shop, and then they were doing ballistics tests on it. And that's what led them to conclude that he's their guy. The suspect was taken into custody, as Carrie mentioned, outside of a Walmart near 59th Avenue in Northern. A heavy police presence out there tonight. Police swarmed in, they got their man.
Our Marcy Jones spoke with relatives of the Merritts. This is the man who is the suspect, and she is live outside of that Walmart with more. This must have been a scene when they took this guy in.
I was just going to say, Carrie and John, to say that Walmart shoppers got much more than they bargained for when they came here tonight would be the understatement of the century. In fact, we spoke to a couple just a little bit ago who said when they pulled up, they had the scare of a lifetime. They said they saw 10 to 15 men dressed head to toe in military gear with what they described as AR-15s. Then dozens more unmarked cars and units, and the Glendale police came. That's when they said that they saw the suspect, Leslie Merritt, and they were surprised. They described him as a little bit chubby, short, beard, very docile and very compliant. They also said that there was absolutely no talking, no yelling, no screaming, that this was all done in silence. We were told after Leslie was taken away, officers kind of hung back, took pictures of his vehicle, fingerprints. You mentioned the pawn shop earlier. There was a bumper sticker that said Mo Money Pawn on it, as well as a grenade sticker on that. And then that was eventually towed away. That's a gray Saturn. Now, we spoke to his soon-to-be mother-in-law, Cynthia. Now, she showed up very upset, saying her grandbaby and her daughter were with Leslie at the time, and she said he absolutely did not do this. It sounds like we're having a little bit of trouble with the sound right now, but she was very passionate. She said, "This is not my Leslie. He has a huge heart. He would never do this." She also addressed the Facebook thing that Nicole was talking about a little bit earlier, about how he was very pro-gun, talked about guns a lot. She said they might have seen things on Facebook. It's not true. It's not true. So still a lot of questions left to be answered. And of course, Fox 10 will bring that to you as soon as they come in. Reporting live in Glendale, Marcy Jones, Fox 10 News.
Marcy, I'm not sure if you got a up-close look at that car, but I had heard some reports that maybe some of his windows had cracks and broken windows in them. Did you see anything like that in that gray Saturn that he was allegedly driving?
I didn't see any cracks. I know that they were fingerprinting. I didn't see any cracks, Carrie. I know that they were fingerprinting. The police were kind of all over it, so there was a lot of smudge, but I did only see the left side of the car.
And Marcy, we understand that they had an eye
now we're
on
gonna hear
him for some time today. They had been tailing him for some time.
Yes. We've heard that, and actually that's why it was surprising when the mother-in-law was so surprised that this even happened. She said that they were going out, quote, for wipies and diapers and didn't know why he didn't return.
Right, they've got a little girl.
Let's take a listen to that sound. I think we've been able to get that sound.
This is the mother-in-law, soon to be.
And there is no way where those shootings are happening that he would be there. There is no way.
Yeah.
So they're full of whoever's doing this. These detectives, all these they never get their story right. And you know what? Believe me, because I know Glendale's, all their detectives, they're full of too. And you know what? I'm speaking because I know my son-in-law has a big heart and he would not do anything like that. And for them to come at them with a baby.
A child with him?
My granddaughter, yes.
What's your son-in-law's name?
His name is Leslie.
And I know you said you didn't want to talk, but this is a great time if you need to say something to say.
I'm just saying he's not like that. That's not even him. That's not even in his heart. Wait, baby.
Dog.
It's not even in his...
Your daughter was with him at the time.
My daughter is with him. Yeah, she's dating him.
And why are you saying that this is absolutely not him?
Because Leslie is not like that. That's not Leslie. Leslie has a big heart. He would not do this, especially when he's working hard to support his 2 kids. This is his son. And he goes to work and he does everything that he's supposed to be doing. And he goes beyond for these kids. And I know he didn't do this. I know.
Does he have?
2. And I know he didn't do this. And it just makes me mad because you know what? They don't even call me, but they call my daughter. They let my daughter call me, but they won't even get on the phone to tell me where they're at. I want to know where my granddaughter's at, and I want to know where my daughter's at.
As you can see, she was very worked up. She was convinced that he had nothing to do with this. So there's still a lot of information missing and a lot of puzzle pieces missing here because as you heard earlier in the conference, they said that gun was forensically linked to Leslie.
All right,
That's
Marcy.
exactly right. That can't be understated. That is a strong statement from DPS that his gun is linked to these crimes.
You know, I think, though, listening to that mother-in-law, she's feeling like probably everybody else in the valley, if you found out your relative did this, because the whole valley has wanted this person caught, all of Arizona, and then to find out that it's somebody you know.
Yeah, and he will
have
his day in court, and he's being interrogated as we speak right now. We are learning more as we go through this newscast. We're back in a minute after a quick break.
Do you want me to bring the mic over there?
This is live. Thanks to BK and Danielle Miller, we are looking at live footage from DPS studios. I don't know if they're going to give us additional interviews. I don't know if they're going to give us additional interviews or if this is where Danielle's doing her stand-up, but I just wanted to let you know that this is the visual I'm currently getting in from one of our satellites. So I'm going to keep this up to see what's going on, especially until we get our news broadcast back.
You're back? Where'd you go?
Such powerful, that was such powerful video from the mother-in-law of the suspect. You could feel how devastated she was and how frustrated she was.
Check. Can you hear me?
very powerful video.
So I guess,
of
do you guys want us to
mother-in-law.
go live, and then if he comes out here, then just pop this mic off, or? I guess. I'm just worried that he's going to pop out here.
Gonna lower the volume to give Danielle and the producer some privacy, but just again, that was very sad, powerful video from the suspect's potential mother-in-law, clearly upset about the baby being involved and being there when they made their arrest at Walmart earlier this evening.
No, because we need to put the mic in the malt box. Like, we have the bottom of our mic, it won't work without the bottom of this piece on it, but we got to...
Any minute now, we're going to go back to our live television broadcast. We are getting this strange live feed in, though, from DPS headquarters, so we are wondering if they are going to give us any additional details. So know that we are looking at a live visual of the DPS headquarters where we have seen the spokesperson walking around, so I don't know if we're going to get more from him. But we do anticipate hearing from Danielle Miller any minute now, and we're going to get back to our live television broadcast here in Fox 10 Phoenix. Oh, here we go.
Now, there's not a whole lot I can say beyond what the director said, because this is going on as we speak. But we are, the case itself is still being investigated. The overhead ADOT signs will stay up through this weekend, and as well as the billboards, because I think the more tips we can elicit from the public makes our case very stronger. And so that's what's, at least for this weekend, those signs will continue to be up in this case.
How the drivers in the Phoenix area should feel right now. Should they be relieved? Should they still be vigilant? Should they?
I think they should still be vigilant. They should be relieved that through all the incredible work of these detectives from federal, state, DPS, and local law enforcement culminated in this arrest tonight, that they should be relieved that we have been working diligently to bring this case to a close and to find the person or persons responsible for this horrific act. Like I say, the investigation will continue to make sure that we, like I said earlier today when I had the briefing, to make sure we have a rock-solid case. But at this point, you know, we really want to thank the public for their patience, because this was a long, painstaking investigation, as you all know, and which we could not say a whole lot and still can't say a whole lot at this point.
There are
some reports out there that this man tried to pawn a handgun, and either you found the handgun after it was pawned or saw him as he was trying to pawn it. What can you tell us about that?
At this point, I can't go beyond much of what Director Milstead said. He did talk about ballistics. That's the first time we've discussed that in this investigation. Suffice to say, in the next couple of days, we will have more on that, and we'll be able to confirm that information or deny it.
Can you talk to us about anything that happened at the Walmart at 57th Avenue in Northern?
Yes, he was arrested at that Walmart with a woman and a 5-year-old child. They were not taken into custody, and he was, and that's about all I can say at that point.
Was he inside the store or outside?
I think he was outside.
And the woman, is she a person of interest?
No.
Are you guys investigating anybody else at this time?
I can't really comment on that. The investigation is continuing, as I said.
In line for the $50,000 reward?
At this point, in terms of this particular arrest, I think this is the result of old-fashioned police work. So at this point, no. But at this point, no.
So is he in any way connected to Oscar Munoz?
No, he is not.
They don't know each other, do you?
Is Oscar Munoz still a person of interest?
At this point, yes. Part of our overall investigation. Anything else? Like I said, that's not a whole lot I can say at this point.
So officially released the name. I think we have it, but have you officially said it?
We have not. And there's a reason for that. He has not officially been booked yet, so we are reticent to do that right now. Maybe soon, but not right now.
Another briefing tomorrow?
Let me get back to you on that. I don't think so, but I'll check on it.
So since you guys were able to forensically connect his gun to 4 of the shootings, where does that leave the other 7?
Well, as the director answered that question, that and I just did again, that this investigation is continuing, that these overhead signs are continue to stay illuminated, asking the public's help for tips, and that it's still open. We're still connecting all of the missing links here.
So this suspect could be connected to more other than this?
I can't comment on that.
The reason I asked that sign question is when I drove over here, they were not up there. There's a silver alert up there, but not.
I think some of them alternate, but as far as I know, they should be still up.
I know he's only been here for a little bit, Bart, but is he cooperating?
That I can't really comment on. I'm not privy to that information.
Can you give us any more detail about how you connected the weapon to him other than that was around?
I think all that will be made clear in the next few days.
Did you all seize any sort of weapon? We did see something that may look black. It was in plastic.
Les Merritt Jr., 21 years old. He is the suspect.
Slightly older picture, by the way. I was on his Facebook page
He's got a
just a few
beard
minutes
now,
ago.
right?
He does. He's got a growth, and that's why that may not look exactly like the picture of the man that you saw being taken into.
The governor about this. They were related, and as you know, the governor tweeted that out this evening. They have been incredibly helpful through this long ordeal, giving us whatever we asked for in terms of resources, very supportive of everything we've asked for in this investigation, and it's been a lot. It's a lot of man hours, it's a lot of overtime, it's a lot of assets, and we're very thankful to the governor's office for their help in this.
So, Bart, with all due respect, earlier today there was that hearing with Oscar Munoz and Merritt. Can you provide any clarity at this point of what happened paperwork-wise? Because the public probably is wondering.
4 so far, but they're working on linking the other ones that are connected to a handgun. That would be 4 more. There were 8 that are linked to bullets, but then 3 more freeway shootings that were linked to some type of projectile, possibly fired from a rifle. And maybe from the side of the freeway. Different MO than shooting it out of the side of your car.
The same thing. We did not
This is the pawn shop where the gun was allegedly pawned off, and it's interesting because the suspect's car had a Mo Money pawn shop bill or sticker on it that said criminal control, not gun control. And there were 3 shootings on August 29th. First one happening in the morning. First 3 happening in the morning,
Maricopa County Attorney Bill Montgomery,
and then we
was
had
here.
one on the 3rd.
He faces a range of charges, although he has not been charged yet, of unlawful discharge of a firearm, endangerment, criminal damage, and aggravated assault. But like I say, that's a range right now. That's only the range, and that has not been. I believe there are some priors.
I said, how sure are you?
That's a decision made by the county attorney in the court system.
98 to 99% sure that they've got the key player in this. But again, the projectile shootings, that's a different matter.
Right. Well,
maybe a completely different person.
Colonel Mills said acknowledging that there may be copycats out there.
Exactly
so they're
right.
keeping the signs up. They're going to continue to have people calling in with tips if you know anything about that. But I think the most dangerous character in this whole thing may have been captured tonight if they do indeed have their man. And it sounds like your source says they do.
They are very, very confident, but they want to talk to him tonight, and they are interrogating him at this hour. We're going to take a short break, and we'll be back in a moment.
Cool. Sounds good.
All right, and we're going to head back to DPS headquarters, where we are anticipating to hear from Danielle Miller at some point this evening. So we are currently anticipating an interview with Danielle Miller, who's on the scene at DPS headquarters. We'll cut back to our live television broadcast if it's related to the I-10 shooting suspect being arrested.
As the main suspect in an I-10 shooting case.
Lowering the volume here so Danielle can have some privacy. But once we see Danielle Miller up on that screen, I will turn the microphone up.
Started the shooting sprees. They say he is linked by forensic evidence from a gun that he owned to at least 4 shootings. Now those happened on August 29th and on.
You want to go live right there, or you want me to go over by the gate?
Maybe the gate. It's a little bit more.
While we wait for Danielle to go live, I just want to reiterate one of the most powerful sound bites we heard this evening. Let's see here. Give me a second to cue it up. And this is our cameraman setting up for Danielle's live shot. You are seeing a very raw video right now.
Obviously, this major step in the right direction in this case. Now, 21-year-old Leslie Merritt Jr. was arrested as a main suspect in the I-10 shooting case. They say he was the one they believe who started the shooting sprees. They say he is linked by forensic evidence to. He is linked by forensic evidence from a gun that he owned to at least 4 shootings. Those happened on August 29th and August 3rd.
And we are waiting to get back. We're doing a weather update right now. We're waiting to get back into I-10 shooter suspect coverage. However, I'm waiting for it to load. I have pulled one of the most riveting sound bites from the evening for you. And hopefully we'll have that any minute here.
Questions left to be answered, and of course Fox 10 will bring that to you as soon as they come in. Reporting live in Glendale, Marcy Jones, Fox 10 News.
Marcy, I'm not sure if you got a up-close look at that car, but I had heard some reports that maybe some of his windows had cracks and broken windows in them. Did you see anything like that in that gray Saturn that he was allegedly driving?
I didn't see any cracks. I know that they were fingerprinting. I didn't see any cracks, Carrie. I know that they were fingerprinting. The police were kind of all over it, so there was a lot of smudge, but I did only see the left side of the car.
And Marcy, we understand that they had an
and
eye
now we're
on
gonna hear
him for some time today. They had been tailing him for some time.
Yes. We've heard that, and actually, that's why it was surprising when the mother-in-law was so surprised that this even happened. She said that they were going out, quote, for wipies and diapers, and didn't know why he didn't return.
Right, they've got a little girl.
Let's take a listen to that sound. I think we've been able to get that sound.
This is the mother-in-law, soon to be.
And there's no way where those shootings are happening that he would be there. There is no way.
Yeah.
So they're full of whoever's doing this. These detectives, all these they never get their story right. And you know what? Believe me, because I know Glendale's, all their detectives, they're full of too. And you know what? I'm speaking because I know my son-in-law has a big heart and he would not do anything like that. And for them to come at them with a baby.
A child with him?
My granddaughter, yes.
What's your son-in-law's name?
His name is Leslie. And
I know you said you didn't want to talk, but this is a great time if you need to say something to say.
I'm just saying he's not like that. That's not even him. That's not even in his heart. Wait, baby.
Dog.
It's not
Your
even.
daughter was with him at the time.
My daughter is with him. Yeah, she's dating him.
And why are you saying that this is absolutely not him?
Because Leslie is not like that. That's not Leslie. Leslie has a big heart. He would not do this, especially when he's working hard to support his 2 kids. This is his son. And he goes to work and he does everything that he's supposed to be doing. And he goes beyond for these kids. And I know he didn't do this. I know, too. And I know he didn't do this. And it just makes me mad because you know what? They don't even call me, but they call my daughter. They let my daughter call me, but they won't even get on the phone to tell me where they're at. I want to know where my granddaughter's at, and I want to know where my daughter's at.
As you can see, she was very worked up. She was convinced that he had nothing to do with this. So there's still a lot of information missing and a lot of puzzle pieces missing here because as you heard earlier in the conference, they said that gun was forensically linked to Leslie.
All right,
That's
Marcy.
exactly right. That can't be understated. That is a strong statement from DPS that his gun is linked to these crimes.
You know, I think, though, listening to that mother-in-law, she's feeling like probably everybody else in the valley, if you found out your relative did this, because the whole valley has wanted this person caught, all of Arizona, and then to find out that it's somebody you know.
Yeah, and he will have his day in court, and he's being interrogated as we speak right now. We are learning more as we go through this newscast. We're back in a minute after a quick break.
Do you want me to bring the mic over there?
All right, I see a live shot from Danielle Miller.
Live,
so
thanks to BK and Danielle Miller, we are looking.
Got her volume low so she can. And then I've also got the. I also have the local television broadcast geared up to go to in case that starts before. But Danielle is not on live right now. You are seeing raw video of Danielle preparing for her live shot. We've got her mic down so she can have privacy while she preps, but you are seeing raw video.
News alert tonight, good news, as the governor said, we got him, and he's referring to the freeway shooter. Governor Ducey tweeting out just before 7 o'clock, the guy taken down at a Walmart in the Northwest Valley, and they believe this is the man responsible for a reign of terror on Valley freeways that had everybody driving and feeling very nervous out on roads.
His name is Leslie Allen Merritt Jr. He's a landscaper from Glendale. He is 21 years old. He is a suspect that we believe is going to be linked, at least by DPS, they're saying will be linked to 4 of the shootings, the first 4 that happened over a 2-day period, really August 29th, August 31st. And Danielle Miller right now has more on this situation. Danielle, we've got a picture of the suspect, a little better picture of him from Facebook. We can talk about that, but this is rapid developments tonight after 8 days of nothing. Very quiet for 8 days until today.
That's exactly right, John. Obviously, for 2 weeks, people here in Arizona have been terrified to travel on our valley freeways, and definitely a major step in the right direction. Now, we just wrapped up a press conference here with DPS. They just briefed us on everything that's going on here. And 21-year-old, as you guys mentioned, Leslie Merritt Jr. was arrested as a main suspect in the I-10 shooting case. They say he was the one that they believe started the shooting sprees to begin with. They say he is linked by forensic evidence from a gun that he actually owns to at least 4 shootings. Now, those shootings happened on August 29th and August 31st. DPS tonight here at this press conference not telling us too much because they say that they're actually in the very beginning stages of questioning.
Tonight, I cannot give you a whole lot more detail as interviews and search warrants are underway. but I thought it was important for Arizonans to know that the weapon and the man who we believe that was responsible for what started this spree in Arizona is in custody.
And Merritt has not been officially charged yet, but some things that he could be looking at is endangerment, aggravated assault, and criminal damage. Now, DPS telling us tonight that this case is in no way over. They say they believe that there are copycats out there. They tell us that all of the freeway signs along the Valley freeways will continue to stay illuminated, and the public needs to remain vigilant, also continue calling in those tips. And we've heard about this $50,000 reward for anybody turning in a suspect or leading to an arrest. DPS telling us that that reward is still valid because they say the $50,000 reward isn't linked to this case because it was good old-fashioned police work that led to tonight's arrest. Reporting live, Danielle Miller, Fox 10 News.
And we're going to find out a lot more about how this whole thing went down, but what I'm hearing is that they were following this guy today. And I think it's interesting, Danielle, that Colonel Milstead said this weapon was forensically linked to these crimes. So these two dates, 4 shootings, they were able to get that weapon and then link it to those crimes.
At least those 4, and they're probably working now backwards
the rest,
and trying to get the rest.
Exactly. He said there's actually obviously these 4 that he's for certain linked to, but there's definitely a lot of shootings that we know of. They said they're going to be going down the line, seeing if any of these other shootings match up with this same forensic evidence that led them to this arrest tonight.
Danielle, you're at the impound yard right there at DPS, is that correct?
That's correct.
Have they brought that Saturn in that was his car linked to the crime?
We haven't seen his car, but actually he was brought in here, and I believe he's actually being questioned here tonight, so they'll be taking him from here to the jail. We haven't seen the Saturn come in yet, but he was brought here.
Let's, I don't know if we can show the video of the Walmart, but let's talk a little bit about how this went down from witnesses, from people who were at the Walmart, 59th Avenue.
This is 6:45 tonight, 6:45 tonight.
59th Avenue in Northern. We're told 10 to 15 men in SWAT gear with AR-15 military gear surround the suspect who's with his girlfriend and their 5-year-old child. And if you can even imagine being a Walmart shopper and having this go down.
Exactly right.
How terrifying it must have been for the people who were there, but it sounds like they took him down with no incident.
Well, and they know they're dealing with, somebody who's potentially armed, and given what we've seen on his Facebook platform, he was very into guns and had a lot of guns. So they don't know what they're going to be dealing with. They want to make sure they're ready as well.
Right. And Danielle, the Milstead talked a lot about this collaborative effort with Phoenix PD and SWAT and Phoenix Fire Department, and just how all of the law enforcement around the valley got together to make this happen with good old-fashioned police work.
That's exactly right. He said none of this would have even been possible without the help from all of the law enforcement agencies, even national agencies coming in here to help. And obviously the public tips as well. He says those do help. It's just tonight, though, that forensic evidence was good old-fashioned police work that led to tonight's arrest.
Let's just back up for a moment. People may wonder why this came out, and that is the car there. And by the way, that's the bumper sticker talking about this pawn shop, and then the grenade sticker on the back of his car as well. We're talking about kind of a little chain of command here. This is a little inside baseball, but why did the governor, why was he the one to announce this at 6:52 tonight over Twitter? Well, keep in mind, he is Frank Milstead's boss. He appointed Frank Milstead to head up DPS back on February 10th of this year. So the governor really, he's the boss, and he got to break the good news, and he did so tonight at 6:52, saying, "We got him. DPS SWAT team is in custody of the individual suspected of the I-10 shootings, apprehended moments ago." That was at 6:52 tonight, 7 minutes after they arrested the suspect at that Walmart at 59th and Northern.
And he's been really all over this case, saying it was a really important case that all Arizona resources would go into it. So good news tonight. I know everyone's breathing a sigh of relief. What a great way to go into the weekend, knowing that we can drive with a little more
insurance,
and not being so concerned. We're going to take a quick break. We're back with the big story that it appears they have captured the I-10 shooter. They have a man in custody. We'll be right back.
I'm Andrea Robinson. Join Fox 10 at the Walk for Hope to Cure Breast Cancer, Sunday, October 4th. Your registration fee entitles you to a free all-day pass to the Phoenix Zoo. Fun for the whole family and for a great cause. Walk for Hope to Cure Breast Cancer, Sunday, October 4th.
And it looks like DPS has not updated I was hoping that DPS would have updated their website with the latest press conference so we could revisit that, but they have not done that yet. So let's take a look here. Let's see if I can get it for you from our previous stream. While we wait for the commercial break and see if we have any updates from our numerous. We have multiple reporters out in the field, so.
Director Frank Milstead of the Arizona Department of Public Safety has an announcement to make. As you are aware, we did make an arrest tonight in the case of the I-10 shooter. With more information on that, the Director of the Arizona Department of Public Safety, Colonel Frank Milstead.
Good evening. Thank you for being here. Tonight does not happen without a lot of effort from a lot of very hardworking men and women in law enforcement. The collaborative efforts of Arizona law enforcement could not be any more clearly defined than by this case tonight. The gentlemen standing behind me and their agencies, along with the Phoenix Police Department, and notably the Phoenix Fire Department in their efforts to help us with the Emergency Operations Center, was a great place to launch this investigation from. Over the last 2 weeks, Arizonans have been terrified by shootings that have been occurring on Interstate 10. Along with that, I believe we have some copycats that decided to participate. Tonight, we have made an arrest in the I-10 shootings that occurred on August 29 that day and on the morning of August 31, 2015. Subject is in custody because the weapon that he owned is forensically linked to these crimes. Arizonans have been incredible in their effort to provide us with leads and tips. I cannot tell you how much it inspires me to lead a police organization in a state where the community has such trust for their law enforcement as they do here in Arizona. The governor's office has provided me with everything that I've needed to conduct this investigation, their support and technology and finances that went along with running this investigation. Are there others out there? Are there copycats? That is possible. We will continue to investigate. Tonight, I cannot give you a whole lot more detail as interviews and search warrants are underway. But I thought it was important for Arizona.
A landscaper from Glendale, and we've got a picture of him here, and we talk about the social media now becoming a portal into somebody's life, and there's a picture of him right there.
Kind of has a baby face, doesn't he? You think he's 21, and if they've got their man, and you say your source says they do,
98 to 99%
this is the person
certain.
that had everyone feeling really quite terrified out there.
Now again, he's got a girlfriend that he's about to marry. He has 2 kids, and I want to show you something. This was from November of last year. This again is just a little view, and his Facebook page was filled with stuff like this, of him shooting guns, showing guns.
Possibly with his little child there.
Yeah, there was a 5-year-old child who was with him at the Walmart tonight, along with his wife, when he was arrested, taken down at the Walmart at 59th Avenue in Northern. And that happened at 6:45 tonight when he was taken into custody.
A lot of people go to driving ranges, shoot guns, own guns, and don't pull what this guy allegedly pulled.
Oh, of course.
But it's interesting to look at his Facebook profile because it's very heavy on gun. He was actually putting a lot of stories about the freeway shooter as well.
That's exactly right.
So now that in hindsight, now that he's been arrested, it's interesting to see that. I don't know if we can pull up the map of where these shootings occurred.
One of those postings, by the way, said, I don't worry about driving the I-10. I'm from the west side. He was, there were a couple of very pointed, interesting comments there. I don't know if we've got the map of the shootings.
Now, the first 3 shootings happened Saturday, August 29th. The first one was an SUV, and it was traveling eastbound. 13-year-old girl was hit with glass and had to be treated at the scene. And then within 15 minutes, a commercial tour bus was hit going westbound in that same area. Later that night, a car going eastbound on the I-10 was hit. And then the next day, at night, a car going westbound was hit. Those are the four cases, the four shootings that have been linked to the gun that this suspect, Mr. Merritt, allegedly pawned off at a Valley pawn shop. So they're not saying they're not going to link all these other cases. Those are the four that have forensically been linked to a gun that they believe he owned.
And so now they move kind of backwards and try to link potentially this same suspect to the other four bullet-involved shootings from a 9mm handgun, probably at street level, right out of the side of the window of the car. That's the operating theory. But then the other three shootings, projectiles fired from possibly above the freeway on the side of the freeway. That could be a whole separate person. We'll just have to wait and see.
We are covering this story. We've got 3 reporters on it tonight. We've got crews in the newsroom working this story. We're going to take a quick break and we'll be back with much more continuing coverage.
All right, you heard it right there from John Hook and Carrie Lake. Actually, I'm going to put myself over here. John Hook and Carrie Lake. We've got more coverage on the I-10 shooting suspect arrested. Right? Well, I'm going to stay for the first block of Troy Hayden's show at 10. That's how much I enjoy you. That's how much I like you. We're going to go into Troy Hayden's show at 10 p.m. with the latest on the I-10 suspect arrested this evening at a Walmart. So from what we understand, he was attempting to pawn a weapon that was used in the attacks, and that helped them to link it to him, in addition to a lot of strange social media activity. For instance, him sharing Fox 10 Phoenix's I-10 shooter coverage. Isn't that interesting? Almost gloating. But yes, I'm on overtime, and I am going to bring you as much I-10 shooter coverage as I possibly can this evening. We've got a commercial break to get through, and then we will jump back into the 9 with John Hook and Carrie Lake. John Hook immediately jumped up here with us this evening, saying he talked to a very reliable source that said, and it was later confirmed, that 4 of the bullets that were 4 of the shootings were actually linked to this individual. And while we don't have our news broadcast up, let me move me. Let's show you again some of these videos we found on his Facebook page. Just interesting stuff. This is Leslie Merritt Jr., the alleged shooter in the I-10 serial shootings. Oh, here's where you hear the baby cry and walk off. Terrible. These were found on his Facebook page, but they say that his Facebook is really kind of one of the things that helped link him to these crimes. Social media was very important, as well as the fact that he's trying to pawn off these weapons that he used in the crimes. He doesn't watch enough Dateline or Discovery ID, where they teach you not to do those things. People in the newsroom were saying, why would you just why wouldn't you get rid of it? If you saw all the heat, if you knew that there was a $50,000 target on your back, $50,000 target on your back, why wouldn't you get rid of the evidence completely? It's unbelievable. It's unreal how ignorant that is. And then a lot of people chimed into, well, why would you do it in the first place? Why would you shoot up the freeway in the first place? Also a very good point. But John Hook, again, this earlier in the evening, said that this individual is very anti-government, very anti-police. Another thing that his Facebook kind of confirmed as well, a lot of interesting posts. He also spent a lot of time on Facebook, because we went through approximately 20 posts that he had just posted today. And his last post from today was a Fox 10 Phoenix share about legalizing marijuana.
Earlier tonight, this is the man who DPS says is the freeway shooter. He's a 21-year-old. His name is Leslie Merritt Jr. And the governor tweeting out at just a little bit before 7 tonight, "We got him." And I think there was a collective sigh of relief across the valley and state to think that we can drive without being so nervous anymore.
Here's the key. DPS saying that this suspect is forensically linked, meaning his gun and the bullets recovered in the first 4 freeway shootings, that this young man, 21-year-old Leslie Allen Merritt, is the suspect. He's been forensically linked to those first 4 crimes in the string of 11 freeway shootings that are confirmed by DPS that began back on August 29th and then suddenly stopped September 10th. We had 8 days of nothing, and then tonight this arrest.
Important to note that Colonel Milstead with DPS said some of these shootings that we have been covering over the last 3 weeks could be copycats. They have not gone through and linked this suspect to all of them, but they have linked that one gun which was pawned off, they say, by the suspect at a Valley pawn shop to those first 4 shootings. 3 of them happening on Saturday, August 29th, 1 happening on Sunday, August 30th. And that was enough evidence to get the warrant for his arrest, and it went down. This is the pawn shop.
This is the Mo Money pawn shop, and this is at 12th Street and Indian School, and this is where the gun was located by DPS apparently a few days ago. They located the gun that was used in these shootings, forensically linked it to the shootings, and then just today, this suspect, we are told by sources, went to this pawn shop to pawn off another gun, a second gun. They were tailing him most of the day, apparently, and then it led to that Walmart at 59th and Northern, where he was arrested tonight.
And that is where the SWAT team moved in. 10 to 15 men in black with AR-15s, military gear, with a search warrant in hand, went down to make the arrest of this young man, 21 years old, Leslie Merritt Jr., in the parking lot in a dramatic fashion. He's with his girlfriend and his five-year-old son.
Yeah. And on the back of his car, a Mo Money pawn shop sticker. There was a bumper sticker on the car that was seized from him, taken at the scene. So, major developments tonight on a Friday night, and again, a collective sigh of relief that maybe they've got this guy off the streets, at least responsible for some of the shootings. And a collaborative work with Phoenix PD, Phoenix Fire, and DPS. Good police work out there to the men and women who did this. Troy with much more coming up at 10.
All right, you heard them. Troy coming up at 10. I'm going to stay with you until we see Troy Hayden on the screen. And let's take a look at... I'm going to make sure. You too. Bye. Great job tonight. Let me see. I've got some interesting screen grabs of his Facebook. Let me share those with you. Here's the suspect right here. Let's see. I'm going to try to preview the pictures before I pull them up. This is him and his girlfriend. I also don't want to accidentally pull up pictures of his child. Him and his girlfriend. He looks like a baby there. These are from his Facebook page. I don't know what this picture is, so I'm concerned about pulling it up. Oh, yeah, middle finger. Ooh, let's get that one off the screen. This is the alleged suspect. These are photos from his Facebook page. That's the beard, the infamous beard that we saw in the Walmart parking lot being arrested this evening. We are waiting on Troy Hayden and the 10 o'clock news. His entire first block is going to be dedicated to this story. And yeah, this is a huge, huge night in news because this young man has literally terrorized a very big city, and it's been a national news story that the entire world was fascinated by. So interesting that it's such a young man, and they just arrested those 3 copycats last week.
Thank you for being here tonight for a major breaking story. DPS thinks they finally have their man. A shooter they say is responsible for terrorizing drivers on Valley freeways. An arrest made tonight in the I-10 shootings that spurred a mild panic with many drivers in the Valley. We've confirmed the man arrested this evening is 21-year-old Les Merritt Jr., who lives in Glendale. We have live team coverage for you tonight on this. DPS believes Merritt is behind at least 4 of the attacks that terrorized Valley freeways, the first 4 shootings that started in late August. Detectives saying a gun belonging to Merritt was used in those shootings. Danielle Miller at a news conference ended just under an hour ago, beginning our team coverage tonight. So what did you learn, Danielle?
Yeah, Troy, obviously for 2 weeks now, people in Arizona have been terrified on Valley freeways, but definitely a step in the right direction tonight. 21-year-old Leslie Merritt Jr. was arrested as a main suspect in the I-10 shooting case. They say he was the one that started the shooting sprees to begin with. They say he is linked by forensic evidence from a gun that he owned to at least 4 of the freeway shootings. Those shootings happened on August 29th and August 31st. DPS not telling us much here tonight at this press conference because they say that they're still in the early stages of questioning.
Tonight, I cannot give you a whole lot more detail as interviews and search warrants are underway. But I thought it was important for Arizonans to know that the weapon and the man who we believe that was responsible for what started this spree in Arizona is in custody.
And Merritt has not been officially charged, but some things that he is looking at is endangerment, aggravated assault, and criminal damage. And also, this case is not over yet. DPS telling us tonight that they do believe there are copycats in this situation. So they tell us that the signs along all the Valley freeways will continue to remain illuminated, and also the public needs to remain vigilant and call in any tips that come in thus far. Also, they want to mention that $50,000 reward leading to an arrest is still active. They tell us that this case tonight, this arrest does not have to do with that $50,000 reward or a tip that led to this arrest. They say, tell us that it was good old-fashioned police work that led them here tonight. Reporting live, Danielle Miller, Fox 10 News.
Danielle, thank you. Just a few moments ago, I spoke with the suspect's father on the phone, who's not happy about what happened, defending his son, Les Merritt Sr. Listen.
The first thing is, if anybody bothers to do a little research and contacts his boss, who he works for in landscaping, he was at work during all these incidents. So unless he's a magician, which I can tell you my son's not, I don't see how he could be in 2 places at once. Secondly, if he did pawn a gun, it was not his. It was for someone else to help him out, because my son has a huge heart, to the point of sometimes being gullible and naive in trying to help people. And thirdly, as a former serviceman, all 3 of my children have been drilled instinctively to know the value of human life, respect for a firearm, and what not to do with one, and how to handle one. Yes, my son does enjoy his firearms. It's a hobby, just as millions of other Americans have the same hobby.
So that's Les Merritt Sr. defending his son, who's a suspect in the freeway shootings. Fox 10's Nicole Garcia has been looking into Les Merritt Jr.'s social media profile, taking a closer look at that, and you heard his father talking about how he enjoys shooting guns, and we see a lot of that on his social media, don't we, Nicole?
Yeah, Troy, it appears he likes to post a lot about guns. We see a lot of posts about guns, handguns and rifles on his Facebook page. Again, DPS identifying 21-year-old Leslie Allen Merritt Jr. as the suspect in this case. And as we were mentioning, his Facebook page really telling of his personality. DPS not saying a lot about the suspect, but we did look into his social media account. Lots of posts on his Facebook page about guns. He's very pro-gun, very pro-Second Amendment. There's several posts on his Facebook page that are anti-government rants, lots of pictures and videos of the suspect also shooting guns himself. But what I thought was interesting is he also has a lot of posts about the I-10 shooting investigations. He's sharing a lot of articles, many stories that we've done here on Fox 10 that we posted on Facebook. He's sharing those stories about the I-10 investigation on his Facebook page as well. So I thought that was pretty interesting. But again, DPS not saying saying a lot about Les Merritt Jr. this case, but we've been looking into what we can find on him on social media, online and on the internet. And from what we can tell from what he's posting on Facebook, you know, he's into guns, he's pro-guns, and he's definitely following this I-10 shooting investigation. Now, he is still being questioned at DPS headquarters, but after they're done with him, he is expected to be booked into the 4th Avenue Jail here in downtown Phoenix, and we're going to stick around and bring you any latest information, anything new we can find on the suspect as we learn about it. Reporting live in downtown, I'm Nicole Garcia, Fox 10 News.
Nicole, thank you. More team coverage now. Marcy Jones at a Walmart near 59th Avenue in Northern, where a dramatic takedown, a dramatic arrest happened just hours ago, and this is where this whole thing happened. We heard from the suspect's father a short time ago. You spoke with his girlfriend's mother, who's the grandmother of his young child, and she's also defending him. So what would happen at the Walmart there?
That's absolutely right. Well, Troy, with so many questions still remaining, one thing is for certain. Walmart shoppers sure got a lot more than just groceries when they came here. In fact, we are just 2 spots over from where Leslie Merritt's car, it was a gray Saturn, was towed earlier. That had a Mo Money pawn sticker on it, and that was taken just a little bit ago. But we talked to a couple who said this gave them the scare of a lifetime because they saw 10 to 15 unmarked people in head-to-toe military gear with what they described as AR-15s lining the Walmart. Then dozens of more unmarked cars and units. Glendale police showed up, and this all continued. That's when they said that they saw the suspect, Leslie Merritt, and they were a little bit surprised. They described him as chubby, short, a beard, very docile, very compliant with all of the officers. They also said there was absolutely no talking, no yelling, no screaming, that this was all done in silence. Now, we're told after Leslie was taken away, officers hung back, and we did see that some of them were taking pictures of his vehicle, fingerprints, and then that got towed away. Now, like you said, we did speak, and this is his soon-to-be mother-in-law. She said that her daughter is engaged to Leslie. She showed up very upset, asking if the car was already towed. She also had a grandbaby with her. She said that her other grandbaby and her daughter were with Leslie at the time, and that he absolutely did not do this.
And there's no way where those shootings are happening that he would be there. There is no way.
Yeah.
So they're full of whoever's doing this, these detectives, all these they never get their story right. And you know what? Believe me, because I know Glendale's, all their detectives, they're full of too. And you know what? I'm speaking because I know my son-in-law has a big heart, and he would not do anything like that. And for them to come at them with a baby.
A child with him?
My granddaughter, yes.
What's your son-in-law's name?
His name is Leslie. And
I know you said you didn't want to talk, but this is a great time if you need to say something to say.
I'm just saying he's not like that. That's not even him. That's not even in his heart. Wait, baby.
Dog.
It's not even in his...
Your daughter was with him at the time.
My daughter's with him. Yeah, she's dating him.
And why are you saying that this is absolutely not him?
Because Leslie is not like that. That's not Leslie. Leslie has a big heart. He would not do this, especially when he's working hard to support his 2 kids. This is his son. And he goes to work and he does everything that he's supposed to be doing. And he goes beyond for these kids. And I know he didn't do this. I know.
Does he have?
2. And I know he didn't do this. And it just makes me mad because you know what? They don't even call me, but they call my daughter. They let my daughter call me, but they won't even get on the phone to tell me where they're at. I want to know where my granddaughter's at, and I want to know where my daughter's at.
As you can see, she was very worked up, very passionate. She was shaking. She was very confused because she said that Leslie went out for wipies and diapers with her daughter, and she just didn't know why they didn't return. Then she started seeing all this on social media. She also addressed a lot of his Facebook things that Nicole was talking about earlier, that he is very pro-gun and maybe anti-government. She said that that's not reflective of him. She said this absolutely could not be Leslie, her Leslie. She says that they've got the wrong guy, but as we heard earlier in the DPS conference, that this was forensically linked to Leslie. So still a lot of questions left to be answered. And of course, we'll bring you all of that as it comes in. Reporting live in Glendale, Marcy Jones, Fox 10 News.
Marcy, thank you out there. And, we've heard 2 different family members now defending this man, and we haven't heard a whole lot about the evidence DPS has. I would assume in the coming days we'll learn much more about more specific evidence that DPS has in this case. Silent witness taking a lot of tips on the freeway shooter, but how exactly does silent witness work? And how do you really stay anonymous if you have a tip? Well, it turns out the program has a very interesting system for keeping tipsters' identities hidden.
We never ask for your number, and we pay a service not to have caller ID. There is no way for us to track who's calling. We don't use voice recognition. We simply assign each caller a code word, and we tell them never please lose that code word, because that's all we'll ever be able to access you as.
And so the way it works is if you think your tip is the one that solved the crime, the caller calls back, you give them that code word, and silent witness will say, yes, that was your tip, you get the reward. Then they send that code word to a bank. You walk into that bank, you give the bank your code word, you get cash, you walk out the door. Never ID'd. Later in the show, Donald Trump in hot water again. What he did at a town hall that's causing some backlash. And one of the Valley's well-known haunted houses opening its doors, where you can kick off the Halloween season. And if you're looking for a job, a haunted house may be the way to go, where you can apply to be one of the...
Well, everyone, that is a wrap on Fox 10 News Now, Friday's edition. I apologize that I couldn't bring you the events that I had planned to bring you, which was that event out of South Carolina earlier today with all of the GOP candidates, minus Trump. But I can almost assure you you'll have it on Monday. I'm Kinsey Schofield. Thank you so much for watching Fox 10 News Now. You can still stream this news broadcast by going to fox10phoenix.com. You can download our app. It's free. And head over to our Facebook page and our Twitter page for additional information on the I-10 shooting suspect that was arrested. But I greatly appreciate you spending your Friday night with me, and I will see you again next week.